What's up, guys? Six Bar Podcast back at it again. Guys, let's get through these ads and we get right into the episode. We're brought to you this episode by Municipal Land Survey. You can reach them at 631-345-2658 for all your land surveying needs. No matter what you're doing, they got you covered. Again, guys, that's 631-345-2658. We're also brought to you by AS Engineering Services. You can reach them at 631-560-0259 or online at www.asengineeringservices.com. Check them out for any engineering, architectural design that you guys need. Rebuilding your house, building a new house, it doesn't matter. They do it all. 631-560-0259, www.asengineeringservices.com. Guys, this episode we have the one, the only, the hilarious Vinny Uzi back on again. Vinny's on to talk to us. As you know from the first episode, he's a strength and conditioning coach, works with a few UFC fighters, some boxers, some really great athletes. So we get into a pretty in-depth conversation about steroids in sports right now, which is real interesting. And then we get a little lighter and talk about the joys of being a father, because both myself, him, and Eric are all dads. So we talk about some of the joys there. Hope you guys enjoy it. All right, guys, we're live. Let's get into it.
Six Borough Podcast. D-Rock.
Yarbs.
Eric. Vinny Uzi.
Vinny Uzi making the return. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Excited. Had fun the first time.
Yeah, well, thank you for making the drive. I know you live
Dude.
good hike away.
Hour 15.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Not easy.
That's a fucking hike.
It's a commitment. I get it. But
We appreciate it.
you were in like real high demand after the first one. You set the bar really high. So we got to come strong again.
I hope I have a good one again. I hope so.
Well,
That ride was so long, the caffeine wore off a little. I need to re-up on it.
oh, we could get
Alcohol
that.
would be good. A couple of beers would be good, actually. Listen,
We could get that done.
Some beers in the fridge if you want.
might actually go after one.
So I know you said last week when we were talking that you kind of wanted to talk about steroids in sports and some of the misunderstandings.
Yeah, just, thinking of, I could talk about a multitude of a billion different topics. But
well, before we get into that, actually, let's talk about, this is a good segue of how to get into it, right? So you've been, I guess for lack of a better term, in the fitness industry for a while. You're a big dude. You did bodybuilding.
Used to be a bodybuilder.
You're an amateur kickboxer.
Amateur kickboxer.
For many years. And now you've combined your years of knowledge and you are becoming almost a full-time strength and conditioning coach.
Right? So pretty much the course of my life in fitness and training and educating myself, just in
bro science.
Bro science is just
It's got that PhD.
a wide knowledge of training and pretty much overall everything, if that's what you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. So the reality of what sparked my to speak about this as a topic was on Netflix. There's a documentary called Icarus.
Sick documentary.
Sick.
Yeah.
Did we speak about it then you watched it? Or did you watch it before?
No, I think, I don't know. I don't know what the timeline was, but I watched it, I guess probably about 2-3 months ago. I don't know, maybe. Because I remember I watched it. I mentioned it to you.
It was excellent. You've
I
seen
think
it.
I think it was only maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah, I was
that
saying,
it
I
came
don't
out.
think it's been out a long time.
I watched it when it first came out,
Right.
so whatever that
Yeah, I
timeline
was told
is.
to watch it too. They were like, dude, this is awesome. So I watched it. I was like, holy shit. Not surprising to what it is, but it's for people who don't know the reality. Maybe it's a little enlightening, which makes me see. I understand. I know the reality of everything, what it is to play at that level and what it takes. I know what these guys do. Through watching other documentaries, and you see, for someone, this one, for instance, stands out in my mind the most. They're walking through, I forgot what show it was, but they were walking through a parking lot, and it was a tailgate at a Giant game, and they came across these two younger guys that were drinking beers, and they probably played high school football, some shit like that, whatever. And like, what do you think about steroids in sports? And they're like, it's fucking cheating. It's the worst thing you're gonna do. I'm like, those two have no idea with the realities of what it actually takes to compete at that level.
Right.
Now, to what it takes to compete on that level, everyone's on the same playing field, and they all do the edge, as in terms of even for just the recuperation or the performance enhancement or whatever it may be. So, like that show, what it was about, if anybody has not seen it, it's about, there you go, that's nice. When you watch it, how'd they start to go down the road with uncovering what the Russian doping?
So,
You want to give a brief synopsis,
yeah,
Dave?
so if anyone's not familiar with what Icarus is, it's a documentary by this guy, Brian Fogel. He was a high-level amateur cyclist, cyclist like Lance Armstrong style, Tour de France, stuff like that. Only obviously that's the professional level. He was just under that, but he was in like the highest version of an amateur level you could be. And in the post Lance Armstrong era, he decided he was going to compete. And I forget the name of the race, but it's the amateur equivalent of what the Tour de France is.
It's a ridiculous race.
It's ridiculous. So he did it 1 year, and he had a pretty good time, and he decided he wanted to see.
I think he was 13th out of 1,000 competitors or something like that.
Something ridiculous.
Something really good
in the world.
Yeah, and he decided that he wanted to now see how Lance Armstrong and the other 18 other cyclists were able to skirt doping for a while, but he also wanted to see the effect it had on himself. So he started contacting doctors and wanted to do the exact protocol basically that these guys were doing, and in doing so, he inadvertently got put in touch with this Russian doctor who
he was heading the doping commission in Russia.
He was the head guy in Russia who was pretty much the guy in the state-sponsored doping scandal in Russia.
And he was also head of the state-sponsored or world-sponsored anti-doping program as well at the same time.
Right. So this guy did the whole protocol and did his competition. And in the first part of the documentary, it's almost like what I thought was happening was that it was showing you that it doesn't matter to a certain level. Like, the average person...
Well, talk about like what happened exactly. So he did the race and he placed 13th out of 1,000 people.
But that was without steroids.
The first year, yes, without steroids. And then
so his
whole goal was to do steroids for, I guess it was like almost an entire year while training.
Yeah.
To try to see if this would get him to a time that was like equivalent to like a professional level racer or one of like the top tier guys. He wanted to see if he improved in his placement. Maybe he'd place first or second now because he's been on that state sponsored like doping protocol that the Russian athletes were on, similar to what Lance Armstrong was on. He wanted to see how much the steroids actually bumped him up.
Right.
You want to continue?
Yeah, so he wanted to see what kind of effect it really had on your performance, and it didn't really have the
Not
effect he wanted.
He placed worse.
Yeah, he placed worse.
Significantly worse.
It wasn't this desired effect. Well, for whatever reason, you know what I mean? But what I took out of it in that first part was that it made it seem like to me that it doesn't matter. You could do all the steroids in the world. You're still probably not going to crack that upper echelon.
This is what it is,
athlete.
Ready? Also, if my buddy who was a high-level bodybuilder always used to say, this is the one biggest things that used to was like my pet peeve. You get someone who never hit the gym, never dieted, never knew what it took to lift weights or compete or do a sport. Be like, if I took X amount of that same thing, I would look just like that or complete like that. Absolutely not. So my friend used to sum up, he goes, you can't polish a piece of shit no matter what. If it's a piece of shit, it's a piece of shit regardless. You can't make something. All it does, it enhances you. If you're good, it makes you that much better. But you got to already be good or great.
You can't pour syrup on shit. Pour syrup on shit, don't make it pancakes, right?
Especially in bodybuilding. Like, I don't know a lot about it, but I do know you can literally just look at people if you know about it and you'd be like, yeah, this guy could do it, this guy can't. Like, somebody would look at me right away that knows the sport of bodybuilding. No matter how much muscle that guy puts on, he doesn't have the frame, and his height to width ratio is just never going to work out for him.
One that's I wouldn't even think that's like a real sport. It is something. It's hard. You got to compete at and diet and train. It is grueling, but it's all 100% physical genetics. Some of those guys never even lift the weights. If you remember Ronnie Coleman, he never even touched a weight. He had like 18-inch shredded arms and abs. And then
that's what I mean. Like, to a certain level, if you're a regular guy with regular genetics, you could do all the steroids in the world and train at the highest level you possibly can. Those steroids are not getting you in
They're not making
the
you great.
realm of a Lance Armstrong.
They'll make whatever
or,
mediocre you have, mediocrity,
Better.
to like a better mediocrity.
Yeah.
That's it.
But you're never gonna, and that's what I got at it.
Well, Lance Armstrong was Lance Armstrong without the drugs. It just made him a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
well,
little bit
Lance
faster.
Armstrong, even on all the drugs,
It helped him recover.
He
It helped
beat
him get
17
better
other people
from
that were on the
recovery.
same protocol as him, though.
That was
17
like his-
other people were on the same exact protocol.
Yeah,
So, like,
that's like the biggest thing with him, and like he went through like in multiple different things, and like over everything he did, it was recovery.
That's all it really is.
That's what it was.
well, the EPO wasn't, but
the EPO. That's what gets your blood. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it gives you what is it, the
Red blood cells.
right? So you could take
Oxygenate
more
your
oxygen,
blood.
yeah, oxygen into your blood, but
whatever the case is, you know what I mean. If you look at those two examples, you look at the guy Brian who made this documentary. The steroids didn't do what he thought they would do, and then you look at Lance Armstrong. The steroids, they to me they're not even, they don't matter, because it's just his talent and his hard work, because he beat 17 from him first place to 18, all of them
yeah.
popped. They all got positive test results for the same steroids he was on.
Well,
so,
whoa.
You know what also the
First off, none of them got positive test results, but they all just colluded against each other and ratted each other out.
They
well,
all
a few of them
do it
did.
though.
A few of them
did a
did
few
get
of them?
popped.
To this day, Lance Armstrong has never tested
never tested.
positive.
Yeah, that's right. He's never failed.
And
a
they
test.
can't. They have, I think, 600 of his samples that they still can't get a positive test on with the most modern testing.
Yeah. And well, so then
Really?
that's
Yeah.
what leads into the
No,
second
no.
half of the documentary, where it
Yeah,
turned
they
into
showed, yeah.
it turned into how it exposed the Russian state doping and how they cheated the Olympic. Well, I use cheat with the air quotes, you know what I mean? Because who knows?
Because
Everyone-
everyone's cheating.
Yeah, everyone's cheating. So like,
It's funny how Russia though has this even from like Rocky IV with the
But you
needle
know,
in the shoulder.
but that exists here too. But it's just
yeah, it exists here heavily. Exists everywhere.
it's just not run by the government.
It's not run by the government. It's run by our university systems that are like trying new compounds and always experimenting with their student athletes.
If not to cut you off, do you remember in that documentary, Robert Carlyle is actually head of the Anti-Doping Commission here in America, and at the very end of the documentary, they said, "Will steroids and performance enhancement ever stop in sports?" He's like, "Never. Money there, never." There's somebody right now. If you guys remember Balco in the late '90s who was
Yep.
designing steroids, a molecular strand slightly if it's undetectable. There's somebody doing that with
course.
baseball players and football
course.
players.
I equate it to an analogy I heard about the prison system, about how the inmates are always figuring out new ways to smuggle drugs in. You'll never stop
We'll never
it.
stop it.
Because they're always ahead of you. So the government's always playing catch up to, the next thing.
Always.
Once they develop a test for something, and they say in that documentary, the guy was saying, stanazol or whatever it was.
Snazol.
Yeah.
Stanazol. They that wasn't testable for a while. Now they have a test for that. They're already like 4 ahead of them. They're already they have 4 more steroids lined up that you can't test for right now.
And the other thing is, if you looked at the sophistication of the way that they were all cheating, it wasn't even like, oh, we do have a test for this, but I realize if I put a pinch of salt into,
you remember that?
into the urine, that the salt binds to the molecules that they test for, and they go to the bottom of the test tube jar, and then it does not pick up for a positive test. Like, when you're at that point of sophistication in beating tests, at this point, I always thought there's no point in in any of the any of the testing at all whatsoever. I said it's like a waste of time. Maybe you do something marginal at best, so that you're just looking like blanket for like some things, but you don't really let them know. But like at this point, I'd say that everything's out the window, and the only people that the testing is really hurting are the low-level athletes that don't have the money to pay for the doctors and the sophistication that would allow them to pass the tests.
It's actually not leveling the playing field. It's
No, it's
actually
making it
widening
worse.
the gap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
because now only the people at the top can afford to have access to the ones that they can get
When
past.
the UFC brought USADA in, or first started to talk about it, maybe 6 months before, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was a UFC fighter that was sort of like a BB plus level guy. It wasn't never like a big name. I can't remember who it was specifically, but I remember them saying this is the worst thing that can happen, because the only people they're going to be able to catch are the people that are not the champion or the main contender in the weight class, because everybody else is going to be able to beat the testing that they can do. Anyone making $1 million a year can pay for a doctor to beat the test. The rest of us that are scraping by aren't even going to be able to take marginal things to help us feel better now.
Well, it's intriguing.
Unless you're
if you
John
think about
Jones.
it. I was just going to say that's an interesting, because why would they want to blow up their cash cow, right? How does that guy get caught? So something seems...
Well, did you hear about the
Okay,
new
I'm going to
thing?
tell you what happened with him, what I think. What he's dumb, he didn't educate himself into what he was taking, and the person he was taking it from, he trusted, and that guy had no idea what he was talking about. Oral Turinabol, what he failed for is as basic as, like...
You'd never take that if you were trying to beat a test, right?
No.
Ever. That would be like, if you were going to, like, pick steroids, that would be like picking the fucking, the Ford Model T of steroids.
It's actually what it was if people, it's actually called the East German doping scandal back in the 60s, when all the girls won the golds in the swimming.
All those girls
was
with
from
beards.
the 60s. That steroids was most of the steroids that are around today were designed in the 50s and 60s. And what people don't know, whoever listening to this, it's not like a regular, normal, standard drug test where if you test for opiates, amphetamines, or THC, you have to test a wide spectrum of steroids for every molecular strand, and there's over like 60. So it's a very sophisticated drug test, a steroid test. So therefore, that's why we're talking about Turinabol, stanozolol. Doctors like Balco, like I mentioned, what's going on today, if they take a steroid, like this was actually, I'm going to give an example what they did back in the Balco days, okay? What Barry Bonds was taking, the cream and the clear. The cream and the clear, I forgot which one was.
Now you get them via prescription, right? That's like those gels they prescribe to the men, or similar.
When?
Like if you have low testosterone and you're like, oh, I got this gel and I put it in my armpit.
That's what it was, kind of. It's whatever way they could actually, transfer it into your body. It could actually be shot. Things could be done anyway. So that was actually transdermal absorption, which actually is shown to be terrible for your cholesterol. But anyway, what they did, one of the steroids was actually called, I think it was the clear, was the same structure as a steroid called Trenbolone, which was like very like testable and failable. What they did, they attached from the gestrinone atom, and what it did, it kept it the same potency and strength, but it made it undetectable just by changing it slightly. I mean, it was still effective, the same the same level, but it was undetectable. That's going on definitely now.
So what do you think happened with Jones? What do you think? Do you think he just took Turinabol and
I think
was
the
dumb,
person.
or?
Yes, this is what it was. He was trusting someone who probably sold himself as to be extremely knowledgeable, and that guy didn't know shit, or he was lied to, whatever it may have been.
He was taking something that he thought was something else, or...
Maybe, but now this is what it is. If he's getting it from a friend or whatever the case is, that person, should have been educated in itself, Jones, to some degree, or the person who was giving it to him Jones had so much trust in him to know what it was, that guy should have known for a fact how to test it. This way you could get things tested and whatnot.
I actually heard another theory last week.
The cocaine one?
Yes. And I don't know, I didn't do any Google searching or anything on it, but they're saying that they cut cocaine with creatine, and that if you test the creatine products, many of them have adulterants in them to make them appear like they're working better. And you've heard of supplements being tainted with steroids, because that's obviously happened a lot.
Yeah.
So that is the new thing, that theory or so that's being bounced around.
Well, it also...
Well, what, that steroids are in the sports supplements?
That steroids are in the sports supplements, and they cut coke with steroids, and he apparently does coke up until like the night before the fight.
Well, they said that the test falls within
Wait,
the same...
did you say they cut coke with...
Creatine.
Creatine.
Yeah,
that's what they were saying. I had never heard that before, but that's
so
what
they think that basically
he snorted.
Yeah, they think he was out partying.
Coke. Yeah,
he didn't actually take Turinabol knowingly. He didn't actually ingest the steroid for that reason. He was out partying, and his
Turinabol clearly is a little more expensive of a cutting agent than creatine monohydrate.
Well, they're saying that like a company puts it into the creatine to make it appear that it works.
That's actually.
And that's what happened. And then somebody bought that brand of creatine and put it into the coke to cut it.
So they're saying
that is actually possible.
Because he'd passed drug tests. He passed another drug test like a couple days before, and then he passed right after, too.
I read a statistic. Do you know 30 not that much here. It does happen. 30% of the sports supplements on the European market are laced with steroids.
I believe that.
I believe it. Sure.
So they did that. They've done some of those tests already. There was another guy who got popped. His name is Lyman Good. He got popped. He brought his supplements and they tested it. They found his supplements were
Had
tainted.
steroids.
Had
Gaspari.
steroids.
So it's not even his fault, really.
So he's
And
suing
they-
the company now.
Well, apparently
And
they're telling him not to say their name. Did they say that? Do you know the name? I know the
I
name
didn't
of the
hear the
company.
name. No, I didn't hear the name.
It's Gaspari Nutrition.
Yeah, so they got it's been proven already.
And it was a
that-
men's multivitamin. If you really want to laugh.
Yeah,
Jesus
so it's been
Christ.
proven that over-the-counter supplements are tainted with actual steroids. So the theory with John Jones is that so the timing of the test fell within the 10-day period of his birthday to the fight, and everybody was saying that he went out and got cranked on his birthday. We already know he likes to party because he fell for coke once. So when they found out, when this information came out that coke gets cut with over-the-counter creatine that could possibly be tainted, they think he was out partying, being reckless, didn't know whose coke it was or whatever, banged a couple lines of coke, pop for turnable.
Very, very possible. Very, very possible. That does actually make
It sounds
sense.
like the most
It sounds very
logical
plausible.
thing.
Logical.
Yeah.
Because, dude, you can't be dumb enough to take something that blatant as like. I mean, guys.
That's
some guys
that.
aren't fucking-
That's what I mean. When I found out that was what he was on, I was like, "There's no way, unless there's some like magical way to take it where it's out of your system in like 5 hours that nobody knows about." But there's no way like that's what you would choose.
How
Right.
long does turnable stay in your system for?
That I actually don't know off the top of my head.
You want to Google that, Yorbs?
Usually half-lives of steroids, it depends what the molecular structure is, but some things, the activity, just say an oral usually is shorter, just say it could be a week, their half-life usually could be double that. Some things like, something like nandrolone decanoate can last in your body for up to TU.
Oh, TU. See, I don't know.
R. Yeah, Turinabol. There you go. Down.
There you go.
There you go. Turinabol.
So what is explain what the half-life actually means. What does that mean?
Half-life means when the drug goes through an enzymatic change in your body. So the anabolic activity already is absorbed initially, but the half-life is when the secondary effect. It's still floating in your system, but not active. To
So
my
it's
knowledge,
it's basically waiting for your body to flush that out, I guess.
pretty much.
Okay.
So that means 16 hours, but that doesn't mean that it's not detectable. How long can it be detected? Maybe.
So what? Hold on. Let me understand this properly. Right? You're saying the half-life is that the anabolic part has already happened. So you're
To my knowledge, from what I understand, I've read so much of this stuff that like the half-life is when they're first just saying, okay, take something like testosterone. It's peaked. It depends what the strand is, but just say roughly it peaks at 4 days and then starts to tail off. The half-life is when it starts to tail down.
right.
I mean,
So that means that would be
Pull that up exactly. The
It's-
meaning of half-life again.
it said 2 to 3 weeks was the detection time with a urine test, but they do the blood test as well, so we're not really sure how long it is. But I mean, if something's in your system for 2 to 3 weeks and you're fighting, you know you're going to be tested sometime, probably multiple times. I know people.
That's why I always use that reference as the activity of the drug. It diminishes after like a few days, but the half-life, it's still floating through your system for weeks. That's when you could still fail.
I think half-life means that half of it is in your system at that
Right.
certain amount of time, and then half that time again it gets whacked down. Then only 25% of it, the initial amount, will be in your system, and
it's
then
the
half
decay
that
of what's
12,
left over that's
it
not
is.
being used.
And,
That's
and
pretty
how
much-
long it takes to be broken in half.
So pretty much the non-activity, but still floating in your system.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your body just hasn't flushed it out yet.
Pretty much.
So obviously, whatever part is being used for absorption and benefit that's already taken place, but there's a piece of it that's not viable, I guess, in that
There it
way,
is.
and it's waiting
so
for the
it's-
decay to get flushed.
Well, yeah. So it's the half-life is so like this. The ambient 10 milligram ambient is 2 hours. So if you took it at 8 by 10 p.m. 5 milligrams would remain. By 12, 2.5 milligrams. So it's half of it deteriorates.
That's exactly.
detectable.
It's self-explanatory.
Yeah. Half of the life, yeah.
Half of it. The life of it.
If so, 2 hours. So it all depends on how much you're taking.
So the half-life, I mean, it's still not active. I mean, listen, like a Turinabol, you're not expecting it to still work after you take one dose and it's still working 3 weeks later. that's ineffective. So as in terms of the steroid world,
Yeah, you wouldn't choose that if you were an MMA fighter getting tested. And I know they test those guys sometimes 2-3 days in a row. Like I've had them, they show up at the gym once in a while for guys, and then they show up the next day again. Like, I got to test you again. You're like,
steroids actually, the half-lives of most of those drugs do last a longer time than they actually. Then the effectiveness of it is what it is.
some of those last like months, right?
Well, nandrolone decanoate lasts 12. The effect of it, just say
year.
you inject it. It takes a
year?
while for it to peak, but just say the effect of it, just say after it stops, having the anabolic effect, you could still fail for up to 12 months. Now, why I tie half-life to not being active, obviously the nandrolone decanoate is not working anymore for months and months and months, but it's still floating around your system.
Now, could you imagine if you ate a food and somebody could tell if you ate that food like a year later? Like, think about that. Think about that for like a minute.
Yeah, I mean, you could apply that to a lot of things, like, cheating on your girlfriend.
I was going to say questionable fucking choices that you made.
Well, I think that lasts forever.
I was going to say that's an eternity.
What I'm saying, that's like, like I went to a strip club 6 months ago, but I came home smelling like a stripper still, and my wife gets mad, like.
Here we go.
Why'd you go to that strip club, bitch?
Yeah, but the
Got
reality
that
of what we're
perfume
saying,
half-life.
the steroids in sports will never stop. Not that like I'm such a big advocate of a condoning of, but it should be on an even playing field. And what I just want to say is that it's the reality of the general population who watches the games thinks they're all like superhumans with nothing. They are superhumans, but they're enhanced.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of them. Now everyone should be on an even playing field. Like I said, I'm not an advocate of it, but if everyone does it, everyone should be able to do it.
Yeah.
If they don't, they don't.
Yeah,
That's pretty much
and it should be regulated. Like it should be something.
Well, it used to be like, okay, I've read something. I read something one time. It stuck in my mind that it's a ratio of a testosterone. It's an epitestosterone ratio. It's like a 6-to-1 ratio in your body, testosterone to epitestosterone. So that most men, naturally normal men, genetically, it's 6-to-1. I remember the NFL. I remember reading this one time. I'm not making some bad. It was like an 8-to-1 ratio. They said they're better genetically made humans or something. So it's almost like you use a little, but not a lot.
Right.
But
at the same time, so the whole idea of like PEDs in general, everything's a PED. If you have the money to have a better nutritionist, that's a PED. You have a fucking, it's performance enhancing. Everything is
performance enhancing.
Yeah,
but
it's
D means drug.
Right,
food, but
food is technically like if you have a nutritionist that knows what to eat to better enhance your body, that enhances your performance, or performance enhancing anything, to have a trainer, like, so somebody that has you as a trainer or has no trainer that fucking knows nothing.
Obviously I'm giving someone the edge.
Exactly. So it's funny how all these leagues and things like that make this distinction of, this over here, this is okay. This no, this is not okay.
Well,
this is okay.
I get what you're saying with that, but I think that falls apart everywhere but fighting.
No, I don't know. I don't think it does.
I do.
I understand your reasoning behind it. You're going to say because if you win, you could hurt the other guy.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. No, what I'm saying is that so if you're a football player and you're in the NFL, these teams have all that stuff at their disposal. So it's like almost ubiquitous across the board. There's no real one person in the NFL who doesn't have the same access to all those things. That stuff is like in major sports franchises. It's all there. In the UFC and fighting, it's different.
Well, that's why it should all be legal, so that everybody.
What?
And I mean, but how many players had access to Balco?
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what Chris was saying about how everything is a performance enhancer. If you have a nutritionist, you have this person training you.
That's not even playing field now. Because someone should say they could afford me and then not him.
No, but I'm saying that I feel like in major sports that argument doesn't hold up.
Look at it. Because
they all have access to that through their teams.
No, they don't.
Whereas in fighting, they don't.
And you're talking about the highest level.
Yeah,
you're talking about the highest level of the NFL, and no, you don't, because the way, like, you look at it, all these teams have fucking millions of dollars. They don't reinvest the money the same way. That's why
you're telling me that they all don't have like top of the line training systems?
No,
they do.
No,
Every single NFL franchise has that.
No, they don't.
Yes,
they don't reinvest. That's why there's such a difference between, the top tier teams and the bottom tier teams. They don't all reinvest the money the same way. That's one of the biggest things that people complain about in like different sports franchises. Like, say if you took the Florida Marlins and the Yankees, completely fucking different. The training facilities,
Really?
it's so.
But you really
fucking
think that
different.
there's a night and day difference between
Huge difference, bro. Huge.
What this guy's training in on the Marlins and what this guy in the Yankees.
100%.
Even though they're both professional top tier teams, the
Because-
training
It's so different. It's
Is-
completely different.
really.
You could read stories about players going from team to team. They're like,
Oh my
"Holy
God,
shit!"
the facility
I
or the
had no
training.
fucking
No, but
idea.
the no frills facility, like what
swear to
happened
God.
to the
Because-
massage
They had
tables,
like a Marcy bench from like 1988.
Yeah, they
some
had
hammer
this-
strength machines.
They
rough
Hammer
ski.
strengths with the shit.
Hammer strength's
Yeah.
the shit, man. A Joe Weider like Joe Weider bench.
Well, that was a Nordic track.
You know, we're just so used to seeing why you don't. I see like
you see-
Oklahoma's or Alabama University.
Well,
you look at their
that's a
fucking
per-
training facility. You're like, holy
That's
shit.
a perfect example. So college is a
That's the
perfect
best,
example.
okay.
It's fucking insane. Like, and even D1 schools. So you could have a D1 school
To D1 school.
to D1 school, and it is night and day between the facilities.
But it
the
even's
ac-
like that in the pros. Is
It
what he's
is
saying.
100%. They've even put it so far as to make it mandatory for certain franchises to put money back into, because they don't fucking put any
They have
money
the same
into to have
gym.
the same thing, because the reason is like for revenue sharing and shit like that. So there were teams. Baseball is a great example of it, because the Yankees would have to give tons of their money back into the Major League Baseball, and teams like the Marlins or it's not so bad now, but the Royals and shit like that. The
could
owners,
afford it.
they could afford it, but the owners are like, no, I'm taking all this money.
Okay, instead
I'm
of
making
giving-
fucking more money. I don't give a fuck what these players are doing. You want to know why? Because it doesn't matter. They could lose 162 games. I'm still making $40 million from revenue sharing.
So he didn't give a shit.
They didn't give a shit.
Really, at the end of the
They
day,
didn't give a shit, and they couldn't get bought out. They couldn't, and players, and even if there was no fans that would come to the game, didn't fucking matter. They're still making their money.
So I'll just say a player who went from the New York Yankees to like the Royals. He was probably like,
What? Yeah, he's like, what the
kind of
fuck?
fan?
Yeah. They'd be like catered by McDonald's or something like that. Where the Yankees, they have personal chefs. I'm not kidding. Like they're
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking it's
Someone's
crazy.
grandmother made lunch.
Yes, it's unbelievable. Like the disparity in certain teams. Like, and you
We're
think
just so used to seeing the highest, then
Right.
you're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
We're
You
from-
know,
and we're
zero
from New-
gravity treadmills, like 15 of them to rehab.
exactly
They don't have
that shit.
We're
there
New
are
York
plenty-
too, so like New York, we're at the
has
top
the
tier of
well,
everything.
Actually, a perfect example would be the Mets, the Yankees. Like the
Okay.
Mets, the difference between like the
money.
training facilities and things like, but the Wilpons, they make plenty of money, but they don't necessarily reinvest that money in the same way, because they don't see it that way. They still see it. I'm still making my money. Yeah, I'll make it comfortable for my guys, but I'm not gonna do the same thing. I'm not gonna go and have the top of the line nutritionists, the top of the line trainers, the top of the line, because they're still making the money. They don't need. They know they're not going to win a World Series, so it's like I'm not going to get to that, but I'm still going to make my money.
So what you're saying, that even to like even just say reverting back to fight, or even any sport, that's an enhancement of your performance.
Exactly, 100%.
Regardless.
That's
not even. That's
no,
not a fair.
There's no such
situation.
thing as an even playing field. And then
Aside from forget this drugs, forget that. That's just one category.
that's just one category.
Now we're going to
of it.
go as far as even the training, the sun. Now into how far people has sports training come with the science that's
It's
incorporated.
insane.
It's a science.
It's
now.
so crazy. They know everything. They break down your body.
I mean,
like,
in reality, if you look how much better players are bigger, faster, stronger today than they were 30 years ago,
Yeah.
human beings aren't genetically better than 30 years ago.
They just have
But
access
there's
to
that
more
much
food.
Except for you maniac. But it's the food, it's the training, it's the science, it's the laboratory, it's the experiments.
Yeah.
Well, just look at what's been going on in mixed martial arts over the last 10 years of the advancements they've
my
had with
God.
like figuring out how to train for it, recovery systems, and all the new methods that have come out. Like 10 years ago, 11 years ago when you first started, it was just like,
You remember the UFC in the early days? Two guys, 7 minutes in, they're laying on top of each other, gasping for
they
air.
went in drinking beers.
Yeah.
yeah, it was like a heavy bag in your backyard, and Like training was like, okay, you run a couple miles and then you spar real hard.
Dude, even
that
like
was
when
it.
UFC, when even when MMA got big in UFC, and like just say like I'd say, I really started watching like 06, 05, right? Like right before like Randy Couture and like Liddell was the big peak of it. You know, those guys were like, you know, it was a lot of you could be one sided. Now you got to be good everything.
Yeah.
Well, these guys could box now. Back then there was only like if you were a boxer. Now the guys could fucking box, or else they could do everything.
Yeah, it's come a long way. And,
Really long.
You know, that's. I just. There's no way to ever level the playing field. There's nothing in life is even ever.
Right.
And
If you just look at testosterone levels between every single person in this room, there's going to be two people that have distinct advantages, and then there's going to be three other people that don't. It's just always going to be like some differentiating factor, like you'd brought up before in other podcasts about basketball. Neither of you guys are ever going to play basketball. I'm 6'3". I might be able to be okay at basketball if I was athletic. Yarbrough's 6'7" or 6'8". Like he would have a chance. Like just based upon genetics, he would have a chance. Like you have a very good chance of being the best, probably like high school basketball player ever, if that's what you want it to be. And then like you could be in the NBA. If I was the most athletic person in the world and like that top tier, I'm 6'3", I'd be at the low end. Like I might be able to.
Right.
And then the other three people in this room, there's no way that any of you would be in the NBA. But like the same goes for powerlifting. Would I be a good powerlifter? No, I'm 6'3" and skinny as fuck. I can't bench press. I can't squat. But do you three guys have an opportunity to be very good powerlifters?
4'11" on the air. Keith's gonna have a bowl with this.
Oh.
Boy,
Keith still wants to repay Eric some for the last one.
No.
boy, we gotta bring Keith on the show.
I would
Bring him on the show.
love to get Keith to sit down with us. But
We're
I feel
talking
like-
about Keith Trimble, head trainer and owner of Belmore Kickboxing,
Awesome dude.
trainer
Good
of
friend.
professional boxers, kickboxers, and UFC stars.
He's Master Splinter, but jacked.
Yeah.
Jack
Yes,
Master
he is.
Splinter. He's
Yeah.
Yoda. I called him the Jack Yoda.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. He is jacked out of his fucking
He's
mind.
jacked, and he knows his shit, man.
He looks a little. He's got a Yoda-y face, a little bit of Yoda-ish.
Boom! There's another one. That's another leg kick.
Yeah, he was. Keith was riffing. He finally listened to one because you were on it.
No.
And true to form, he got upset. Although we've only ever spoke well of Keith, but yeah, he'll find something to pick
Of
apart.
course he will. That was crazy. That's Trumbo.
But that Belmore. I mean, if you look at Belmore's an interesting place to look at what we were just talking about in terms of like levels, right? You have all walks of life there. You have guys that are the absolute cream of the crop. Andre, Gregor, Algieri when he was there, and Volante and
That guy's not cream of the crop.
Volante.
He's got like a full keg right now under his shirt.
Dude, I gotta say,
He's big.
He's big right now. He walked up. He was wearing. I'm like, he's got to weigh like 260, bro. He's huge.
He's that big right now. I haven't seen
We
him in a
weighed
while.
him last week and he was 243, but I think he's big. He got bigger since then, at least 10
I mean,
pounds.
he was wearing like a flannel, a shirt. Bro, he looked like a football player. He walked up. I'm like, oh shit.
Well,
Fucker.
Anyway, that just further illustrates my point about how you can see. I mean, even at the highest levels, there's levels, right? There's highest levels to. I mean, there's levels to the highest of levels. So you look at Volante, who's still in the highest level of the sport.
Volante could be a top 1 or 2 guy at 205 if you like really, really wanted to be. He's such a beast and such a guy that I feel like he's almost like a Dan Henderson. Like he could just go in there, and even if he didn't train, like there's a good chance he's going to win.
He's very tough. He's good. I
Hits
mean,
like
I just
a
feel like we're
fucking
just very fortunate to go to a place where there's some of the best fighters in the world.
Well, yeah,
so we get
and-
to actually see.
We're just
And
lucky
that's
that
what
we
I
happen
mean.
to
You
live.
look at
We
it.
live near there.
We actually know. Yeah, we actually know though what some of the best athletes are in the world And we go to a place like that so we know what it is to compete with people like that. People have delusions or whatever they say about whatever. You're like, these are real genetics.
Well, me and you, last time when we sparred, we had this exact conversation. Me and Vinny, and this illustrates what my point was. Me and Vinny sparred, and Andre jumped in and moved around with us. Andre Harrison is you could say he's up there. He's on the apex of the sport right now.
He's like a Jedi.
He's one of the best in the world, 145 pounds. The guy's
absolutely
18-0. He's won 3 different world championships in 3 different organizations that he's been in. He's beaten tons of guys from the UFC. It's actually like a shame that he's not in the UFC. It's almost like criminal at this point. But anyway, we can all agree that Andre is top tier.
So top level professional.
Then you got,
absolutely.
and we get to train alongside a guy like that, which is awesome. But there's levels to this shit. Me and Vinny spar, and it's like, we feel all right about ourselves. And then Andre gets in there, it's like, we don't even belong in the same fucking ring with this guy.
He's just seeing stuff, and and he's just touch. He can move and slip and move, and you can catch him here and there. And, but like they're just, he's just this punch volume. Also he's way more than we do.
Yeah.
But still, he could just see stuff, and you're like. It's almost demoralizing.
It is.
Like me and you were like, we did all right,
Yeah. Like we did 3-minute rounds, so Andre would let us work for 2 minutes, and then he'd go, all right, 1 minute left. It's volume punching time, and he would just throw off probably 100 punches at us, and it's just like
sees all the little openings, and it's frustrating because I'm like,
fucking close. And like, 2 minutes before that, I'm like. I'm not bad at this.
It's almost like he knows he went up the middle and like he knows like I'm going to throw my right hand after.
Yeah.
Because like it's almost like he knows from so much experience.
Yeah, he's 2 moves ahead of you.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah. He's
like the master chess player, and you're swinging. He knows it's coming already. It's like Matrix.
It's Lomachenko. Like he's fucking 2
kind
steps.
of.
Like he's setting you up. You're like, oh look, I'm seeing this. I'm gonna throw this. He's like, no, bitch. I let you think you were gonna throw that, and now I'm gonna fucking punch in the face.
He's just
exactly.
well. It just goes to show you that the disparity between people, and like I'm not trying to overestimate myself or sell myself short here. I feel like if I'm being honest, me, you, and Eric, who are high level but low in terms of the cream of the crop, probably
real low.
Most people walking the planet we could beat up. Right?
I would agree. Yeah.
Most people.
99.999%.
If you're not a professional fighter, if you're not a professional fighter
and like a pretty good one too.
Yeah, you're not.
Like you got to be like pretty good.
Right. But then once
Like-
you cross that barrier into that next level, we don't even belong there.
See, I feel like
Don't even like dude.
I feel like there's probably less than 1,000 people on the planet that I can't beat up. Probably less than like a couple hundred. Because like if you think about like who we're training with and who we're down there, like we're competing with people that are like ranked in the top 20 in the world.
Yeah.
So like, all right, I'm competitive. I'm competitive with some of these guys. I have a back and forth, or even I'm not losing. So if you're like not ranked in the top 100 as far as like world fighters go, I don't know if I'd be really afraid of fighting you. Maybe if you're like some super heavyweight, like athletic freak that's ranked number 22 or 23, but other than that,
Like you've said it, like when from like this, just even like your stand-up game, like here at Belmore, is very what it was and what it come to, and then you go back to like where you were going to, and you'd be the king of the crop.
Right.
Right.
Like big fish in a small pond.
Big fish in a small pond.
When 4 years ago, I thought I was like okay at stand up, and then I went to Belmore. I was like, wow, I suck, and
yeah,
now
dude, that's why.
now if I go back and spar people that are still learning the way I used to learn, there's a clear-cut gap.
I went somewhere for 3 years, and it's good to learn the basics. 2 years before I went to Belmore. I learned more in 2 months than I did in 2 years with Trimble.
Yep.
I'm not even kidding. It was good to go somewhere to know how to throw a jab across, and even though Keith definitely did clean all that out too, but the technique and how to move, and it's just like, that's why I feel like we're very fortunate that we go to a place like that.
We're very, very fortunate. Very, very fortunate.
if you think about it, think about where we could live anywhere else in the country. How many top level
There
striking
aren't that
or
many
MMA
top.
coaches are there in this country? Maybe 5.
Right.
Like I can name maybe 6, 7. Like, and what's the chances that you just happen to live near one that you can just go and like train there as like an amateur or train there for fun after you're done fighting?
Think about when you're driving, how many places you see so-and-so, whatever, MMA or this
I
and
think
that,
there's 3
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
kickboxing places within like 500 feet of their gym. Like there's an I Love Kickboxing across the street. There's some other like Ninja Warrior kickboxing thing down the road. And there's some other thing like that opened up like right next door. It's like some type of Chinese, Japanese kickboxing. Like all within like if there were no other cars or trucks or trees in the way, you'd be able to see them all from the same spot.
Well, how about not only that too, the fact that I feel like, at least for me too, I feel like I got lucky in the fact that Keith even decided to train me. Because yeah, like you could walk into that gym and it's great that we live there, but like Keith doesn't have to train any of us.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and
It was like reference how you get into training with Keith. You know, like my friend Jordan brought me there. Jordan was under, Keith's tutelage. It's like for years and years, and he brought me there, so that's how it got in. At first, actually, it was funny. Keith's like, dude, I'm a fucking asshole. If I didn't know Jordan, they would never train me there.
yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like he's fairly selective with who he likes to train. It's, when I first started there, it's real funny because I had started working with Vinny. He didn't know how I ended up there. So when I told him the story of how I ended up there, he was like, what? He's like, you're lucky he's training you. I'm like, yeah, because I walked in off the street. And I was like,
Oh, you really walked in? I
You
didn't know
really
you
walked in off the street? Like Steve didn't reference you with nobody?
I 100% walked in.
I mean, but no, hold on. But now that you know Steve and all those guys, and that definitely helped a little
I
bit.
never had Steve or anybody call for me. I walked in, and I said, is Keith here? And Spiro looked at me like I was fucking retarded. He's like, yeah, what do you want? And I was like, I want to train. And he's like, okay. And he's like, well, Keith isn't here. Keith was like in Texas or something, cornering someone. He's like, why don't you leave your name and number and I'll get back to you. And I was like, all right. And a couple days later, I got a phone call. And Spiro was like, Keith said when he comes back.
You got a phone call back to come down?
From Spiro. Spiro called me back. He was a man of his word. He's like, I'll talk to Keith. He's like, because he was like, who are you? He literally was like, who are you? What are you doing here? I told him everything. He's like, you fight? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I had a couple of amateur fights. I want to really work on my stand up. He goes, why are you here? Like, and he asked me flat. He's like, who do you know? And I was like, I didn't want to name drop, right? I didn't want to be the guy that comes, I know this guy. I didn't want to do that. So I was like, well, I know Ryan the Flair. I was like, I know, I mentioned you, Eric. I was like, Eric Ott, Eric Uresk. And he was like, okay, well, I'll talk to Keith and I'll get back to you. So I got a phone call. He's like, I talked to Keith. Keith said he'll be back in like a week or something. You could come in and train with me if you'd like. And then when Keith gets back...
Were you training? You trained there before me, though, I thought, no?
I did train there before.
I might have went down there and sparred a couple times.
I thought they'd already known you
How
through
many years
Ryan.
you've been there now?
Just about 4.
Holy shit.
Not exactly 4, like coming up to 4.
Dude,
very
time
close.
flies.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I think March will be 4 years.
Holy crap. You too?
I guess I've been there a little bit less, like 3.5. But
Andre was like, yeah, he's been there for 7 or 8. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Well, Dre was already there when I got there, but so Spiro's like, so where are you from? I'm like, Patchogue. He's like, Patchogue, huh? He's like, it's a bit of a hike, huh? I'm like, yeah. He goes, all right, Saturday morning, 7 a.m.
Come on.
And I was like, all right. And I knew what was happening right then and there. It was like they wanted to see how serious I was. Like, do you really want to do this, or are you going to be like, oh, Saturday at 7? How about 11? And then like piss off because you're not serious. So I showed up,
6:30.
got there, did my thing, trained with Spiro, and then he's like, Keith will be in touch with you. So I came back and trained one more time with Spiro. Then I got a phone call from Keith, and he's like, come in, typical Keith thing. He's like, be here at 3:30 to warm up, and then, we'll go forward, whatever. So I show up, same thing. He's like, so what are you doing here? Who do you know? And why should I train you? And I was like, listen, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm an amateur. I was like, I'd like to turn pro. I'm like, I'm not deluding myself. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be a world champion or this and that. I was like, I just know. I was like, I know you're the guy. I'm like, you're the best trainer there is. I'm like, that's why I'm here. I'm like, and I want to get as good as I can and I want to learn. And he was like, all right. And then literally for 6 months we didn't speak outside of like, all right, warm up at 3:30, train at 4. I'd show up. He didn't even say hello to me. I'd do my thing, warm up, and then it'd just be like, Dave over here. We train. I'd ask a question or two here about technique, and that was it for about 6 months before we ever really had a real conversation. Matter of fact, I didn't really talk to anybody at first. You were one of the first people I actually got to talk to because, and it was all by accident because he double booked us. So we ended up training together.
That's right. That's right. Oh my God, bro. I remember that session.
So yeah, you were like my first friend down
We
there.
work out well though. Like as in terms of me and you, the pace. You know, we'll kick it up the same amount with some people. You know, we actually work really good together. That's why I like training with you.
No, I've always enjoyed it. We got on the same page pretty quickly.
Very quick.
How would you guys describe the environment down there at Belmore Kickboxing? Like, obviously intimidating.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of like a better way to describe it to everyone, but I haven't been able to put it into words.
Well, all right. So most people, even for guys like you and I who have trained for a long time, it's different. It's not like a regular
gym.
It's not, and like when I say gym, I mean it's not even like a regular jiu-jitsu gym that has kickboxing in it. It's way different than that.
I've been there for 3.5 years, and I don't feel 100% comfortable.
Me neither.
Like, I don't say hello to everyone there.
I always say hello,
and not to be like a dick. Like, oh, look at this new guy, I'm not going to say hello. Like, I'll see like other serious people there that are there for a boxing, and I'll just be like, yeah, I'm not going to even look this guy in the eye because like I don't know where this fits into the spectrum, and I just don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, dude, that's the first 6 months there. I literally would walk in, I would just acknowledge, say hello because I want to be rude, but I would do my thing. I would go in the corner, away from everybody to hit the bag and warm up. And I remember I used to be like I hope I'm warming up right because I don't want to get yelled at. You know, because Keith like will break your balls sometimes. Like, and he would do that to me. A couple months ago, I was there, and like I think I was talking to you while I was hitting the bag, and Keith comes over. He's like, "Listen, I know you're a purple belt in jiu-jitsu and all that stuff, but you think maybe you want to warm up?" I'm like, "Damn, man! Like I thought I was warming up."
Oh,
He's like, "Yeah, you're warming up your fucking jaw." I'm like, Jesus, you know, just like. But I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what's a good word to describe it. It's just different.
It's tight knit, but like it's. I know exactly what you mean, though.
It's different, though.
Yeah.
It's like
There's no way I can describe. It's not like anywhere else I've ever been.
no, and you know what it is?
I see. I don't know any other. I've only really trained at that one other place, which was whatever, and then Belmore. I have nothing to compare to. You guys have more.
Yeah, I've
of a
been to a
comparison.
couple of
So
gyms.
what Eric and I come from, right, is more of like an academy type place where it's like, you know, we did jiu-jitsu at a jiu-jitsu academy. They had a separate, you know, kickboxing and boxing program, but there was classes. You'd show up, you'd do a jiu-jitsu class with 20 other people. You'd do a kickboxing class with 20 other people. You'd show up, there's some time in the beginning where you're all just getting there at the same time, you warm up together. So there's like socialization. Belmore, everybody's on their own schedule. There's no fucking classes. It's like, you know, you got guys over there in one side training with Spiro, guys training with Berman, guys training with Keith, and then you got guys interspersed doing their own
norm,
thing.
I guess.
That is not the norm. No.
Maybe that's how a boxing gym functions, though.
Right, that's more of an old school boxing gym, and it's all very much more one-on-one. And also, the other thing is, most people at Belmore are pretty fucking serious. There's not that many hobbyists. Like, you know, you go to a jiu-jitsu gym, you
go down there 1 in the afternoon, bro, they're getting down. You know what I'm saying? You see, I walked in the other day and all these young kids, bro, going at it. I'm like, God damn, bro, these fucking kids are lions going at it. I'm like, holy shit.
The other thing with that gym is, like, you never know who you're really going to run into. Like, you'll be down there, and they'll be like, Stipe Miocic, like the heavyweight UFC champ. You go down there the other day, and, like, Adam Kawanaki will have, I know he butchered his last name.
Kawanowski.
Kawanowski. He'll have like he'll have like some giant heavyweights down, like all guys that are like top 10, top 15 heavyweight boxers in the world, and they're like banging it out in the ring, getting their rounds in. Then you'll have like Ryan LaFleur will be hitting pads or sparring with like Costa Philippou, and you got Gregor Gillespie who's in the UFC, and he'll be down there like sparring with Dennis and Andre Harrison, and then like you're like, all right, I'm here. I'm gonna jump rope in the corner, and
Like,
like
think about that. We go to a place where all these pros go to.
yeah,
That we're around. It's pretty, fortunate to absorb and learn and be around.
Well, think
guys
about
like
that. I mean, 2 weeks ago, me and Vinny made plans to train. We went. We were going to move around, drill, spar, and we had Andre Harrison, who is there, and goes, "Can I work in with you guys?"
Awesome.
Like, what do you mean, can you?
Yeah.
Of course. You're the best guys in the world. Of course we're going to work with you.
In the world.
And
he's humble as hell, too.
Yeah.
He just jumps in, works out.
taught us a bunch of shit. Like, he didn't have to sit there and do that stuff with us. And, he broke down, like, a lot of stuff, like, inside fighting for me that I didn't know a whole lot and showed me a bunch. It's like, how valuable is that? How many people have that opportunity?
It's invaluable. And I like the way that things are there. And like you said, everybody is sort of separate. It's good because you get more of a diverse group of people to bounce questions off of as like a fighter with not as much experience as those other guys in their respected sports. Some of them are boxers, some kickboxers, some what's it called, some MMA fighters. And you can all sort of see how they run their camps, what they do in certain situations. Whereas when you're from like a big gym setting, sometimes even like a high-level gym, the high-level gyms that I've been to, a lot of times everyone's on the same protocol. Like, oh, yeah, this is what we do.
Ubiquitous across the board.
This is our guy that does strength and conditioning. We all do it with him at these times. This is the nutritionist that we all work with. We're all on this diet. Like, yeah, we all get together. I don't want to say it's like a cult, but it's like a family that does everything together. They all help each other get ready. And I feel like at Belmore, everybody sort of has their own little like niche as to how they get ready, and you can bounce questions off them because, I don't know, maybe it's just the fact that, I don't know, I'm less explosive and less athletic than many of the guys that fight, but I find myself a little bit different. I do things a little bit differently than what many of like
you do things differently than everybody.
Yeah, I guess so. but you know what I mean? Like, I'll try to work with a lifting coach that a lot of my super explosive, super athletic friends lift with, and I'm just like, oh, I can't do this because it takes me 3 days to recover. Oh no, keep doing it. You'll eventually even out. Like 3 or 4 months, 5 months in, I'm still like, listen, man, I'm sore all the time. I work out with you twice a week. The only day that I don't feel sore is when we break it up and I have 4 days between our workouts instead of 3. On the last day, I'm like, I still feel like shit, and I keep gaining weight. And you tell me that I shouldn't gain weight lifting like this amount of weight.
Who is this?
No, it's one of a bunch of lifting coaches that I've tried over the years. Like, I don't really lift weights. I do some speed stuff. I do some agility stuff. But if I lift weights,
I thought you were gonna say I do speed. I was like, I don't think that helps you.
No. But like, if I start lifting weights, even like moderately light weights with high reps, I just gain fucking weight. Like, I could very easily weigh 215, 220.
You got a coach sitting 6 feet from you.
I know. I wish you didn't live an hour and 15 minutes away.
Well, kidding aside, man. If you get like even Dave, I know you guys live far, man. If you guys ever just work out, don't you want to come by to lift?
Oh, I'd be into that.
Absolutely, come together. You know,
You got to come out there one day.
We should
and
come.
Have him.
We'll film a little bit too.
Yeah,
put us through one of
actually,
these. You should come too. We'll all do it.
absolutely, man. For sure.
Bulk
Actually,
Hogan's
you know what?
not coming.
I trained this kid. This kid Mike Napolitano. He owns Total Nutrition. He owns a couple in one in Belmore. I forgot what other town, but anyway. You know, he comes across a ton of people, and someone who he knows, an acquaintance of his, does a professional camera filming. So he's like, "Listen, man, I can get him to come down. It would be pretty cool. Have
That's
us
awesome.
train." Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
But what I was gonna say before was, you don't even realize yet until you start doing how much you absorb from Trimble.
Oh, I know. No, I do.
My friend Mike Andrillo, who used to train at Belmore, he was a very good amateur, fought in Ring of Combat, opened his own school. And Keith was telling me this, and Mike even told me, because I'm still very close friends with him. He's like, bro, you don't realize how much we learned from him. And I remember Keith telling us, he's like, I don't train you guys any different than I train the pros. Amateur to pro, it's the same exact training regimen. You warm up the same, it's the same combos, it's the same everything. I don't know if they do that everywhere, but that's the way Keith did it. And the amount we absorbed and the things we learned, I hold pants for people too. So I was showing this kid Mike the other day. I don't even know if I ever did it sparring. Like, hold him, come across face, and push off and make room to throw a leg kick. I'm like, holy shit. I just picked up so much. And we all did. You don't even realize it.
No, I've actually, because I've been teaching more now, I've realized some of those things here and there too, or things like, I see things, I could tell people to do things that I even know that I probably can't even pull off yet, but I just know it's the right thing from being around those people.
Right.
I know it's what you're supposed to do. Whether or not I can execute it
I was about
is
to say,
a
I
whole
don't
other
even know. I
ballgame.
don't even know if I could execute it from what I'm teaching, but we've just learned so much that I know that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. I actually... Oh, you all right?
My
He almost fell out of the chair.
This chair's like a high chair. I almost fell out of it.
Speaking of the devil, I texted Keith because he was actually working on setting up some sparring for me tomorrow. So I sent him that picture of you and I, and he writes back, "Terrible." And he goes, "Terrible" meant you having that stupid North Korean on your podcast.
He is horrible. It's all out of love. It's all out of love. I hate you. I hate you, Trimble. I love you.
You know he's gonna listen to this one.
Absolutely does. Anything that me and you do together, he's gonna listen like this. What the fuck say about me? Whatever say about me.
I never say anything poorly about Keith. I really
You just said
respect
something
him.
poor before.
Yeah.
That's a leg kick.
I said he was like a Yoda.
He's gonna get mad about that.
I said Yoda in the positive. You said Yoda in the negative.
No, definitely in
either
the
way,
positive.
he's gonna get mad about it. But Keith's awesome though. The thing about Keith that I have figured out, I guess, is he's rough and talks a bunch of shit and he gets angry with us and like whatever, but it's because he gives a shit, and that's
Absolutely
a good thing. Like Keith cares just as much about us three as he does, Gregor or Andre's performance. Like like you said, he trains everybody the same. And if you're one of his guys, you're one of his guys. He's not holding anything back. We're learning all the same shit that those guys are learning, and that to me is real valuable.
Yeah, see, one other thing I also, respect Keith for, besides being, great trainer and fucking all that other bullshit, is how he is as a person. Values, see him with his kids, and I hear him tell me stories. I'm like, fuck, man, will I make the right decision like that? And I'm like, how he treats his kids if they go to do something. And I remember stories with his daughters, and I'm like, would I react like that, or would I react? But he, in my view, and he reacted and handled it the perfect way. And I'm like, shit, man, I hope I could do that when, I'm a father one day. So these kind of things I respect that guy tremendously for, other than be able to kick your fucking thighs.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, how is your son? He's about a year old now, right? Just turned one?
Yeah, man, it's great.
How jacked is he already?
The kid's like, dude, he's jumping. He's insane. But he's a boy. He's like a boy. He's not a dainty boy. He's all over the place, bro. It's the best thing that could ever happen. And whoever's not a father, and I could just
There's only one person in this room that's not.
Yeah.
It's a love. It's a love
that you know about
that you just you couldn't comprehend until you have your own. Like I'm gonna say it now. My friend Clint. He has a son about 5 years old. The way he describes how much he loves his son, he goes, I would suck a cock in Macy's window during Christmas time. That's how much I love my son from the state of his life. I was like, all right, there you go.
That is one of the best.
He goes, I love him. He goes, if it meant he'd live it, he goes, I'd suck a cock in fucking Macy's window during Christmas time. I love him so much. I was like, all right.
I can't say that I've ever felt that way about anything in my life. That's intense.
I would
Nah,
never
he's
put it
awesome,
that way,
bro.
but yeah.
Yeah, dude, you'd do anything for your son. You'd say your daughter, whatever it may be.
So all three of you guys would suck my dick in Macy's on 34th Street.
Not
during
yours.
Christmas.
Not yours.
Yeah, not that
You don't love
fucking-
your kids that much?
Not that
You
much.
wouldn't suck mine? I'm the only exception?
Anybody else in the room, though?
That's...
Nah, yeah, it's cool, man. I someone said one time before I had kids, and he was like, he goes, and he was a party guy. He's like, it's the worst, best thing. But like, I kind of knew what he meant that time, but I definitely don't feel that way. I only feel like it's the best thing.
It's the best thing.
It's awesome. It's like, and listen, my son's all over the place. Yeah, it's more work, but you know what? What are you gonna do? The only thing I can honestly say that changed differently was like my whenever I want downtime of a chicken cutlet hero and passing out on the couch. Well, other than that, it's it's a little more work, but whatever, bro. You roll with it. I mean, I guess that's the difference. Some people are like, oh my god, because I know people like, oh my god, it's
Fucking selfish.
so traumatic. Like you hear them, I know they hate it, and I'm like, dude, how could you fucking? It's not that much fucking, dude.
You know what? I can tell you, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this because now I have
This should be good.
Now I have two children. I have a 2.5-year-old, or 2 years and 4 months is my son, who I feel very similar about that you feel like with your son. He's awesome, cool to hang around with, and it just gets better between the ages 1 and 2. as good as it is now, it's going to be like 2 or 3 times better by the time he's due. It's so much. It's so awesome. And I have a daughter that's 4 months old. So 2 children is not like having 2 times your one son. It's much harder. It's almost like having, I'd say, what you'd imagine to 3 kids to be like if you only had one. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's horrible, I hate it.
The volume of work, though.
Yeah, the volume of work is much more, it's much higher. And the downtime you get is cut not in half, but probably to zero. Yeah, there's not a lot of downtime, especially when you have an infant or like a newborn. But I will say that like we're all like a similar like quality of people as far as intelligence and like work ethic goes. But just imagine, like, I'm sure we all have some, like, real schlubby friends or family members that you know they can't handle anything. Like, oh, my car insurance is expired and my inspection's done and, oh, I got to stay at work a half hour and they, like, can't handle anything.
I know everyone here thought of a certain individual in their life when you said that.
100%.
Yeah.
Like,
I used to be that individual.
People that can't even handle the most marginal things that human adults have to do. Like, those people, when they start having kids... That's when you hear those stories. So when you hear people like in the office, like I worked for many years in office, you hear guys complain about their kids. Oh, 3 kids, you don't understand. Or, oh, I got 2 kids now, but baby, I don't get to sleep at night. Like those are people that were like barely getting by as like adults by themselves.
Couldn't take care of themselves.
Couldn't really take care of themselves to like any level or standard of like that we would accept as like a norm.
This is exactly why I don't have children.
Well, now I think you're at a point where, like, you I think you're getting there, Dave.
You're
getting
way
there.
different. You don't give yourself enough credit. You'd be fine.
I don't know. You guys wouldn't suck my dick in Macy's, so it ain't that good.
That's a preference thing. It's a preference thing.
No, I don't know if you know this or not, but that's not how kids are born.
Oh, man.
But I don't know. I enjoy having kids. I think it's a blast, and I look forward to like all the different things that they can do at all the different ages, and they grow up real fast. So you're like, all right, now you're like already like planning. Like 2-year-olds, there's not a lot to do with 2-year-olds, but like 3, 4, there's like a million different things, and you want to do all those things before they're too old to do them. Make sure that like you get that checklist off, that you get that enjoyment out of whatever activity it is.
When are you gonna start bringing Max down to the gym? That's what I'm looking for.
How old is he?
I'm a big fan of Max.
2 in like 4 months, whatever that works out to, like almost 2.5.
And you just had one, right? So
yeah, 4-month-old, and then I got who's Rose, and then I got Max, who's my oldest. But he comes to Long Island MMA once in a while, and I put him in the cage, and he fights Dennis Bermudez's kids. They all like they have it out, and Chris Wade's daughter.
Dennis has kids, right?
Yeah, he's got 2. They're wild. We went to Adventureland with them a couple weeks ago.
All over the place.
It was a blast. We had a great time. We were on like the Ferris wheel. We're going on all the kids' rides.
Yeah.
Dennis could get on some of the kids' rides because he was little.
He was a little too short, actually, for him.
He's like
No, we had a great time though. We all had a great time.
No, yeah, it's definitely cool. I'm definitely I'm enjoying it, every step of it.
I feel like when you're like settled into, like, I'm so glad I didn't have kids when I was younger, because now that I'm like settled in, like I can enjoy it. Like I'm not super stressed about things, and I'm like, yeah, I can enjoy like the down. I'm like, oh, I got to wake up at 5 o'clock and go to work every morning. Like when I was in my 20s, I was real hustling. Now, like I can enjoy the time.
Right.
And in your 20s, you feel like you're missing out still. Like, oh, I can't go out because I have the kids. When you're in your 20s, you want to go out, you want to have fun. I feel like now I'm in my 30s, like, yeah, I can enjoy that shit.
Now was the right time. It was actually the right time for me. Now I'm very locked in, settled in. You know, certain different goals. You know, more established. Mm-hmm. You know, as to X amount of years ago, I was still running around like a maniac. You know, so I wasn't ready then. The point is now is
wait till you're ready. Feels real good.
I don't know if you're ever really ready.
I was just about to say you're never.
You
really
become ready.
I was ready. I was ready.
You make yourself ready.
You make yourself ready.
Yep.
I would have been ready 6 years ago. I would have made myself.
Yeah,
ready.
exactly. That's it. Mm-hmm. But that's the type of person you are. That's exactly what Eric was talking about before. Is the people that we know that they never make themselves ready.
They would have never been ready anyway.
They would have never been ready. It doesn't matter if they were 24 or 34 or 44 or 54.
They're never ready.
They're never ready.
Yeah.
They don't know how to change that, make that switch.
I hear some people talk about it's like the most traumatic thing. I remember before I had a son, I'm like, shit, man, fucking. They talk like, you'll see, at work. This is all, you'll never work out again, and this and that. I'm like, dude, What? Now I'm like, fuck you talking about?
Those are
No,
probably
you're a fat, lazy fuck. Like, and you can't prioritize right.
the same people that were like, "Oh, wait till you get married, everything changes. It's horrible. Oh, wait till you move into, wait till she moves in with you, bro." So I made my wife move in with me like 2 years before we got married. So I'm like, "Oh, everybody's been telling me you gotta like live with them first." But then like we got married, same shit that it was before. We moved in together. It wasn't bad. I just didn't have to do my laundry and didn't have to cook as much, which was fucking awesome. So I'm like, this isn't bad. Hair in the shower, yeah, it sucks, but whatever. I put it down the drain. I'll call the fucking plumber if it gets a fucking problem.
While we're on this topic, pet peeve number 2. I don't know which one was bigger, this one or this one. Ready, guys at work? You know, I'm in the construction work in the industry. You got some of the most unhealthy, disgusting, fat slob animals you could ever imagine. Ready? This is when someone makes this comment, I realize that their balls got clipped high and they lost their manhood. All right.
Balls got clipped high.
Clipped high.
That's a good.
They have the testosterone of a 12-year-old girl. Ready?
There was no even remnant of a sack.
They're like, why do you care? Like, they rub their fucking belly and they go, what do I care what I look like? I'm married. So therefore, your wife should be welcoming and enjoy banging you. You'll be happy when your wife is draining Rodrigo the fucking lawn boy's bag because you look like a fucking before picture. That's why. Asshole. I hated that comment, bro.
It's fucking, it's the worst.
Yeah.
Those are the same guys that it's always, when you hit 25, it's all downhill. Oh, when you hit 30, it's all downhill. Oh, when you hit 35, fuck you.
They're all
you're a piece of shit.
Peaked in high school.
10 years ago.
Peaked in high school.
10 years ago when I
That's
first
terrible. Poke high.
Yeah,
It's like a fucking. I'm like, dude, you talking about fucking high school?
Glory days.
Oh man, so
I started working for Motorola, this company I used to work for 10 years ago. I was about 24, 25, something like that. And, back then I was 2-3 years maybe into training. I was very big into it. And all the guys I work with, they had a huge cafeteria down there. We'd always go down, everybody in my group, we'd all go down. We'd get breakfast together. We'd all hang out. We're pretty close-knit. We'd get lunch. We'd all sit and talk. And there's one particular guy there who was probably about 40 years old at the time, or close to it, like, 37 to 40 range. And he would always be like, yeah, he's like, you're in shape now. He's like, I was in shape when I was your age, too. He's like, I'm still in pretty good shape for my age. He's like, but wait till you hit 30. You ain't going to make it.
wait till you're 30.
Wait till you're 30.
30 is still a kid.
He's like, wait till you're 30. He goes, once you get into your 30s, he's like, it all changes. Everything changes. He's like, you get more tired. Your testosterone, this and that. He's like, so enjoy it now. I was like, yo, fuck you, man. I was like, the difference between you and I is, I was like, you fucking quit. I was like, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing. I'm like, I promise you that I'll still be doing what I'm doing right now in my 30s. And now here I am, 34 years old. I'm still in shape.
I got
still
better
training.
at fucking 30. Like, you
Dude,
kidding me?
absolutely.
Get the fuck
Well, I
out
gotta
of
tell
here.
you, my friend Danny. I remember my friend Danny. He actually, he came. He's a brick mason, and I needed like a window closed. He came over. I've known the guy for over 20. I've known him since I met him when I was, I think, 16 at Gold's Gym, and he was like 28. Bodybuilder. He was a competitive, high level bodybuilder. Very good friends. The guy's like 52 years old. The guy looks ridiculous. He's still jacked and in shape. He looks awesome. But the guy's in his 50s. But I can't even like he's in his 50s.
Look
he's
at
still,
Keith, too. Keith's 46, 45.
Oh, he's gonna kick you
What they
for
call-
that. He's
what
gonna
they-
kick you for
Yeah,
that.
he's
That
like-
was
he's like-
worse than everything
he's like,
combined,
what,
dude.
This is a compliment. I'm saying he looks awesome.
No, he
for
looks
his age.
unbelievable.
He does.
He's
I don't
guy-
look
How
look
old is
that
Keith?
good
He's
ever.
40,
I've never looked that good.
My brother's 47. Keith's 46. Yeah, he looks better than most.
Guy looks better than
24-year-olds.
20-year-olds that I
Guys,
He looks better than me when I've cut 15 pounds of water to make 186. Like,
I've seen him. When he eats clean, I see him. He's eating like plates of rice and shit. I'm like, dude, you eat that many carbs? He's like, yeah, absolutely, I have to. And then, like, once I start holding pads and people, I'm like, yeah, no wonder, bro. You're doing fucking cardio all day.
Yeah.
You're burning all day.
Yeah.
You have to eat that. Otherwise, you'd be like, fruit. No, but the guy isn't. No joke. The guy's in beast shape, man. Regardless, 46 or not, he's in fucking ridiculous shape, man. He's ripped. Super ripped.
Something I wanted to say before I before we get too off subject, but what you guys were talking about before with your the kids and everything, and like what you guys were saying how it's better that you waited, you're in your 30s. Something I've seen inside of my own family, and then I got reinforced with this particular quote, but something I'd always thought. I'd seen a member of my family was a single mother, and the way she handled things, I could almost tell that she resented her kid. Like he stole something from her. Like he stole her ability to be young still and have fun. Because when you have a child, it's not about you anymore. It's not about what you want. It's what the kid wants. And I had also seen this with my own mom. I always often felt like my mom felt like she didn't get to have her childhood because she had kids young. So I came across this quote recently from Carl Jung, who's a pretty famous psychologist. I think this is money, and I think you guys nailed the opposite of this. So it says, nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment, and especially on their children, than the unlived life of a parent. You know, like you got, like you said, you did it.
Right.
You know, you got it out of the way.
That projecting of like,
Yeah.
oh, I missed out on this, so I'm going to make
Yeah.
you do this, or I'm going to force you into this, or like, you know, that.
I heard something terrible the other day. Ready? So, one of my friends, my friend Anthony, known him a long time. We actually just started, I started training him recently a few months ago, and I see him a couple of times a week. Became pretty close again. Funny guy. He at his he owns a CrossFit gym. At his CrossFit gym, he does some one-on-one strength conditioning for certain kids. So he trains this 12-year-old kid. He was telling me he's a little overweight, thick, and he's a good baseball player. Could hit, could field, but he's not coordinated really. But anyway, the parents have this delusional projection that they think he's actually going to be a professional baseballer. It may be. The odds are heavily against him, but probably not. But anyway, point is everything is he goes, the father, right? This is what stuck in my mind. So Andy's telling me, he goes, the father's like one of these macho, living through his son. Drops him off. Says to my friend, he goes, how many push-ups? Tell Anthony how many pull-ups you did today. He's like, little boy looks at me, he's like, none. He goes, yeah, he sucks. He goes, you're going to suck at this too. I'm like, Jesus, wait, what? He goes, bro.
Fucking...
The kid walks out, the father leaves. I'm like, don't worry, we'll have fun now. And then he gets the kid up, he's playing. So the mother's telling my friend, he goes, yeah, the father calls him fat. You're not eating that. You keep eating that, you're going to be fat and slow. I'm like, what is this guy? Fucking deserves his ass kicked.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this guy fucking for real? One, you were probably never any kind of athlete. If you actually speak to your son that way and you think that's going to help him, means you never succeed at any kind of sport. That doesn't work, that shit. Who would do that to their son? You fucking retarded? I thought my friend was exactly. He's like, dude, I swear to God, bro. He's like, the father calls him fat, slow, you suck. Yeah, good. Do that again. You suck. Terrible.
So like
do it again.
that puts people in a bad position, because like if you see that, like, what is it out of line to be like, hey man, stop being a dick to your kid? You know what I mean? It's like, it's always going to be the like, oh, it's not your kid, mind your business thing. But it's like, god damn.
No.
I think there's certain level where you know something.
Especially when you're involved in that kid's life also. Like, if you're a stranger on the street, like walking past and you hear that, like maybe not, but you know, if you're that kid's if you're that kid's coach, like you're a positive role model in that kid's life. Like, I don't think it's completely out of line at all.
No, it's not.
No.
Say something.
I agree.
I mean, you know, maybe you don't do it in a way to, you know, embarrass the dad or something like that. But maybe you say like, you know, hey, can I talk to you for a second? You know, and be like, hey, there's a way to do it. You know, you're not trying to, because in a situation like that, if you like showing him up, then he's gonna get embarrassed, or he's gonna get, and then that kid suffers more. But to be like, hey, you know, can I talk to you for a second? Let me, like, this is my experience. You know, I've been doing this a long time. Or like I got kids too. Like, you know, there's ways to go about it, but to just sit back and fucking do nothing.
Yeah,
it's not.
I would have a particularly hard time hearing that stuff and not being able to say anything.
That particular parent probably just doesn't know any better, and maybe that's the way his parents spoke with him
Right.
when he was young, or didn't have a father at all, or who knows really what the situation is. But I don't know. I just always attribute everything back to some people just aren't intelligent enough to see what they have to do in order to get what they want. And I feel like it applies to everyone. It applies to me in many situations. But there's certain things that you just have to realize are detrimental, and especially when it's pertaining to your children. Like, you don't want to be the cause of any more pain than you have to be.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've had to say something like that. But I think that I'm like the type of person that probably would. But I don't know how I would handle it now that you guys mention it. I'd have to think about that.
Well, that's that's what kind of made me think about it too, because I've sort of been in that situation inside of my own family, and I definitely tend to rock the boat.
Well, that's the thing, is like you can't, as much as you wanna be like, yo, fucking asshole, you know, smack in your fucking face, like you can't, because that's not gonna get your point across. It's not gonna help anything. There are ways to handle situations like that.
I've beat some of my family members up.
Even, I'm not saying that you could. That's the thing, though.
And it worked. It worked. Like, long-term worked. Like, it's still working now, and this happened, like, 8 years ago.
Oh, my God.
And sometimes it comes up at, like, family functions about how well it worked.
Hey, remember the time you beat your uncle up?
Choked him with inches of his life and revived him.
Chris,
to
how old
explain to
are
him.
your kids?
My son's 7.
7. Okay,
Yeah.
and yours is 2.5. So I'm,
very young.
I'm new to being a father, but just me having a son for a year, I'm like, dude, it wouldn't even cross my mind to ever.
No, I couldn't imagine.
I don't do that to anyone and belittle somebody. Forget your son, and when you should know that's not going to make him better anyway.
No, not at all.
I have front row seats to Chris's parenting because we're roommates, live together. I tell Chris this often. I think you're a great dad, man. I see the way you handle your son and the situation in, like, it's money. And I have the utmost respect for Eric and you from your parenting and your philosophies of parenting, because it's weird, but like as I've gotten older and I guess coming to terms with like how I grew up, I didn't grow up the best way. I don't have the greatest family structure. I really, really respect men who have grown up and do the things that you guys do, and especially not being a father. But if I were to ever be one, you guys are people I look to. I give you guys a lot of respect for the things you've told me, Eric, like how you try to limit stressors on your kids. You don't want them around certain atmospheres and things like. I'm like, wow, I would never really thought about those things. And then seeing Chris, how you handle Chase, even when he's being a pain, you don't lose your temper, you don't snap at him, you don't talk down to him, you handle it very well. And coming from what I came from, which was the opposite, I give you guys a lot of respect for that. And I'm Vinny. Like Eric had said, we're all pretty similar people, so I have no doubt you're in that same atmosphere.
The one thing I'm learning now is they are sponges to everything.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
food. Like even like what I get. I'm very high strung, and I get
Get out of here.
and fucking. And the things I gotta really control, like he could see, and I felt bad. I could see he gets like when I start to get mad at something, and I'm thinking,
Do the kids feel your stress?
Oh,
my
yeah.
wife
They
feels
feel it.
my wife feels them tighten up, so I gotta really. I learned to not do that. And one time I felt so bad, bro. I yelled at something else. I felt them grab me. I'm like, oh man, I feel so bad right now. I try to be calm with them. And
They can definitely get at like heartstrings that
dude,
like
my
nothing
faces,
else.
dude, it's crazy. He can't even like speak, and like he does the same face. It's like,
Wait till he starts
I was
talking.
doing like
Oh
you
my
see.
God.
Sometimes I'll do this, and he started doing this. I'm like, holy shit, man.
Wait till he starts talking, and you think like, oh, I got to be careful when I get
Dude.
mad because I'll curse and I'll pick it up. I've gotten mad like a couple of times in the house when he's home, and I'm like always expecting him to like break out like, goddamn fucking shit, or like some type of swear word, and like the stuff he picks up, the bad things he picks up, I'll be like on a telephone conversation, and they'll be like asking me about like a car or something like that. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's a shit car. You don't want that. And next thing you know, he's like at grandma's house, shit car, shit car, shit car. And I'm like, I said that 2 weeks ago on the telephone. Like, what the hell, Max? What the hell? Where'd you even get that from? Shit car, shit car. Every car that's brown or like orangey, shit car. Like we'll be driving down the fucking road. Driving down the expressway. Shit car. Shit car.
My brother-in-law has 4 boys. At the time, I said it was 4 boys under 4. 1, twins, and an oops. All right?
Ooh, that's like my worst case scenario in my head.
Dude, you'd go over there, bro. And I was like, when they have meltdowns, you're like, holy fuck, bro. I mean, listen, how they handle it is, it's unbelievable. But anyway, not to laugh at what kids do. So he's a landscape designer, right? So my sister-in-law was telling the story. His oldest son, Dominic, was in the backyard. He's probably like, at the time, like 4. And he's shoveling his blend. He's playing, and he looks over, and he takes something, he throws it, and goes, "Fucking retards, leave it over here." My brother-in-law definitely said that to Station. She didn't want to laugh. She was like, "What'd you say?"
Sometimes it is so fucking hard not to laugh. Like
He takes him to fucking retard.
There's a good story just the other day. Like I said, I have front row seats. Chris's son was saying something the other day that was pretty hilarious. That he picked up off of a TV show. You want to tell that story? Yeah, you want to tell that story because that was hilarious. Like, dude, I was on the couch dying at how funny this was.
So he, like all kids, watch cartoons and stuff, and he was watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and there was some kind of fight scene going on or whatever, and they're fighting this big fucking mutant cat, and they punch him in the groin, and they're like, "Oh, right in the fur patch." So now for the rest of the day, Chase is fucking all day long. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Chase. I'm like, you got it.
He told me he was going to punch me in my fur patch. You cried. I was like, what? I'm dying. So I didn't know the context either. I'm like, my fur patch? And I'm like, so I do the math, and I'm like, this kid's got better insults than I do. And he comes out, he's like, Chase, you got to stop saying that. He's like... And he's laughing. I'm like, what?
So
I'm like, you want to explain this to me?
It's so impossible.
So he explains it to me, and we start cracking up. But then now Chase knows he's got the room.
Yeah.
Forget
so now he just starts going, and we're cracking up, dude. We're pissing ourselves. The 7-year-old kid's got us dying.
Oh, my God. Or like my buddy was driving, of course. You're not thinking, you'd be like, fucking motherfucker, whatever.
Yeah.
So my buddy Ray was over the other day, and his daughter goes, "Fucking motherfucker," and DJ goes, "I just had to ignore," because then if you respond,
right,
he's like, they'll be like, "Oh, that got him going." So he's like, "Oh, shit." She's like, "You fucking motherfucker." He's like, "Oh."
Yeah,
oh man, dude, I know it, bro. I really, my wife's like, really? Like, the F-bomb flies out of my mouth. I said it probably the most out of you guys, hands down.
I'll tell you what, though, like, the, even worse than, like, the cursing is, like, the sarcasm and shit that they pick up. This was before I got divorced. We were leaving a birthday party. My son, my now ex-wife, we're leaving. He's in the back seat, and, he's got, like, a goodie bag. And now he just was at a party, so he had candy at the party, he had cake at the party. He's like, Dad, he's like, can I have this, can I have something out of my goodie bag? I'm like, Chase, no, you don't need anything. He's like, come on, just this one thing. I'm like, Chase, you don't need a lollipop right now. And he goes, first of all, Dad, it's a ring pop. And I was like, and now my wife is like, fucking biting her tongue, like, not to laugh. I'm like, there better not be a fucking second thing out of your mouth right now.
She was trying so hard not to.
She was literally, like, tears, like, coming out of her face, like, because she was
hearing that now.
Yeah. He's like, first of all, Dad, it's a ring pop. I was like, there better not. I'll throw you right out of the fucking car. There better not be a fucking second thing.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
Yeah, the soccer. I mean, he had to be 4 at the time, maybe.
You're like, the things they
yeah, the things they pick up, and it's like the perfect placement of it too. Like, that's something like, you'd say to, like, one of your friends, like, being a fucking asshole, like,
fast.
Yeah,
right? Dude, like,
unbelievable.
Yeah, my son's changing fast too, man. Now he's like, you're trying to change it, bro. The kid's reaching for everything. I just give him my car keys out of my pocket. Cause that's, this is another thing I don't get. I have, like, all these toy phones. They blink. They do this. They do all the same thing. Why does he have to have my real phone? Or have, like, a multitude of fake keys. They're metal. They sound the same. Nope. He has to have my car keys.
Yep, always. They know.
But why? Dude, the kid... I'm like, I don't get it.
The only thing that gets worse than that is when you buy them, like, real expensive toys and they want to play with the fucking box. You're like, Cool. I'm glad I just spent $400 on that fucking toy.
Yeah, I
and now you
assembled
put-
it for the last
Yeah.
3 hours.
I spent 4 hours putting it together and
Exacto knifing decals.
Yeah.
Dude, I even have two remotes. They're identical Verizon remotes. One's a dummy, and one's the real one. Right? One doesn't work. He has to attack. He knows. Maybe that's the one I'm always touching. He knows that's the one.
It's something. Yeah. They pick up on it. They know.
I'm like, why do you have to have this one?
I used to think a lot of like personality with children was learned, which not to say it's not, but kids come like with a personality out of the box already.
Yeah.
It just depends on how you nurture it out of him. But like, because I remember with my nephew was 8 weeks premature, so when I first held him, I think he was only 3 weeks old, you know, but he was still preemie though. So he's this little thing, you know, he was barely the size of my forearm. I remember holding him, and he's like, you know, infants, they're barely conscious, and then you get a preemie, they're even like more like, you know, like
Yeah.
But dude, he was like looking up at me, making eye contact, and making faces, and I started laughing at it. He picked up on it then, and would do it more because he knew he was getting a response out of me. He was already a fucking clown at like 3 weeks out of the box. He was a clown, and that I watched that stay with him. He's still that kind of like he's just the kid's a clown, and like if he gets a role, he's not giving it up.
They don't let go.
No,
Yeah.
he's going for that laugh the whole time. He was doing that when I was holding him at 3 weeks old, making faces.
That's like something that's ingrained in us. I'm trying to think of the exact terminology they used to describe it, but it's like a mechanism to keep themselves alive because they know if they can attract other people to them that they'll always be taken care of.
Yeah, it's the social mechanism.
Yeah,
for survival.
it's a survival mechanism is I think the terms that I was looking for. But I remember reading that at some point because like my daughter's like that. My daughter even more than my son, who is already like predisposed to like to smile and like people to look at him. My daughter like is like the court jester holding court at like 3 months. Like you literally, if you like sit next to her, she'll just be like, and she'll start like making different faces and noises at you until you acknowledge or like forced to acknowledge the child. And then she'll like sit there and keep doing it like, all right, I had enough. And she's like, oh, look, I can touch my toe.
That's exactly how Caleb was. My nephew, he was the same way. He was just cracking like, and once he realized that he could crack me up with it, he upped the ante.
Yep.
And I remember being like, how is this possible, you know? But that was really my first real exposure to real children. At an age where I could understand it, you know? But yeah, they're out of the box with a lot of their personality already. It's interesting to see that.
To get back on the original topic and to share of something what we've just touched upon. So you know, we just talk about all different things. I remember, because this is kind of mixed matching what we're speaking about. I forgot. Speaking to this one guy in the gym, and he was talking about like high school. His son's like 16 years old, and the high school football team's very competitive. He's like, I'm gonna put him on steroids. I was like, excuse me?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He's like, yeah. He's like, I did it in high school. I'm like, are you fucking crazy, bro? I'm like, you're not even like quarter developed. He had no idea of what, but like for someone who, one, has no education on the subject, and maybe that's why. And you actually even thought about putting your son on steroids at 16 to compete in high school football? You're out of your fucking mind. That's insane.
Yeah.
I couldn't even believe he was telling me
Get
that.
better training and better eating and like if you want to help them, those are the things to do. You don't put them on steroids. At that point. That's fucking crazy. You should fucking shut your endocrine system down. Like what the fuck is wrong with you?
That's just a knucklehead. But point of what I'm saying is that I can't even believe that a parent would even fathom that. To verbally and to tell me, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna, I was like, he's like, well, I did it. I'm like, yeah, you can't fucked up, man.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Crazy. No, I don't have words for that. I really don't.
And this is another thing though, is even just someone obviously like him has not even educated himself even 5% in the subject to even know what it does, that you even consider to put your undeveloped physically son on steroids.
Where do you think, so this is interesting then, do you think that guy is of below average intelligence or of average intelligence overall?
That's a scary thing. He's probably of average intelligence.
Of average intelligence, and
That's a scary thing
just
to me.
decided not to
It shows you how
educate himself
dumb-
on something that he does himself, which I think is fucking ridiculous. I just unbelievable. He's not dumb because I know the business he does, and he can run it very well, and you can't be a dum-dum in that field. But he's blue collar. But I just couldn't couldn't fathom that someone in today's day and age with the knowledge that, even just the basic knowledge of what the potential dangers of just even the average
hey man, don't you have the internet?
Dude,
What the fuck?
Dude, people don't. Well, that's one of the scariest things. Is people don't realize the power that they have. Like, you have the potential for unlimited knowledge. You could know everything.
We have the magic information box.
what?
everything.
Dude, you ask that anything, bro. You could
Anything. You don't even have to fucking type. You don't even have to fucking know how to type anymore. You push a button.
Yeah.
And you go, hey, Google.
You could find it, dude. Let's think of them. You could ask Google anything.
Anything.
It'll
Anything.
answer you.
Any fucking
You could
thing.
get
in the world.
full education.
Do you remember what arguments used to be like?
Yeah.
Like when we were all in like middle school before the internet, when you could argue and you could like, oh, we'll find out.
Yo,
We never found out. You'd have to go to the library
Never
to find
found out.
Nobody ever found out. Nobody ever like
search
settled anything.
on
Now,
microfiche and shit. Like, what the fuck? Like,
now it's instant. Like somebody says something that's like questionably, like,
No, I'm calling you out on
let's
shit.
find out about this right now. And like that kind of thing is what perpetuated a lot of the myths in martial arts for years.
You got to register your hands if you win the Golden Gloves.
Remember that?
It's still, bro. That still
dude,
gets said.
that's
It's
still-
still.
still-
Remember you guys? Do you remember American Combat? Where he's an ACK ACK guy. His hands are registered.
yeah.
He's a registered. His hands are registered. They're
Dude,
illegal.
there are still people
I have
that
to
fucking
tell a
say
story
that.
about this.
registered hands.
Yes.
Did I ever tell you the story about the
No,
bus?
no, no.
A very specific thing.
Somebody actually
about-
asked me if my hands are registered because I'm a mixed martial
Someone
artist.
asked me that, too.
Over the summer, somebody asked me.
He was probably 50-something years old though, from the 80s.
Oh yeah, he was an older guy.
Oh no, I got told that. All right, let me break this down, and I'll tell this story.
Don't say any names.
I'm not gonna name names. We were at an event. It was outdoors.
I want the name.
Honestly, I don't even know the kid's actual real name.
Never mind then.
But we're at an event, mutual friends, and this kid was a friend of a mutual friend. And I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Talking. I was a little bit drunk. Was at a Live After 5 in Patchogue last year. The summer of 2016. So he's like, oh, what are you a fighter? He's a guy, I saw yours. I'm like, yeah, a little bit. And he's like, oh, that's cool. What do you do? I'm like, MMA, jiu-jitsu, all that stuff. And he's like, oh, I was a boxer. I'm like, right on, man. He's like, yeah, I was doing the gloves for a while, almost won them, this and that. Normal conversation. He's telling me how he used to train, all that stuff. I'm like, oh, it's pretty, not what I expected. The guy seems cool. Like, telling me a little bit of a background. He's like, I had to stop when I got my job. He's like, I'm on, like, the business end of construction stuff now, so, like, it's getting real, so I got to do that. He's like, but, what really made me stop is when I had to register my hands.
No, he didn't.
I swear to God. When I looked at him, I was like, huh?
How old was he?
He's all right. He's got to be 28 to
20s.
31. I looked at him. I was like, huh? He goes, you had to do that too, right? I had to register my hands. I was like, no, man. No, I didn't have to do that. He's like, maybe it's different in boxing. He's like, when I got far in the gloves, I had to register them. Now, I just don't want that kind of problem. He's like, still got the temper on me a little bit. He's like, even my boss, my boss was saying some shit to me one day. He's like, I didn't really like it, so, I sent him my record. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, after that, we didn't have any problem. I was like, all right, dude, I gotta go. Like,
Oh, my God,
And I
bro.
walked away. I walked right over to Yarborough. I was like, bro, you're never gonna believe what just happened. And I told him, and he looked at me just as dumbfounded as you are right now. And I was like, bro, I can't believe somebody would say this to me. Like, the internet exists right now. Like, I thought that myth went away, like, once the internet came out. Like, when people, like, started figuring this out. I'm like, does this guy, like, go around telling people this? And do people still believe this?
Yeah.
People still believe it.
It's
100%.
insanity.
Pet peeve number 3. Ready?
Stupidity.
So I go to all different gyms. I have a gym at home. I'll go to Belmore. Sometimes I go to the Globo gym. And the Globo gym because there's, tight asses to look at and a bunch of meatheads and whatever it may be. Just a change of atmosphere.
Makes you feel good, right?
Yeah.
I like
absolutely.
working. I like working out with meatheads. When I'm lifting weights, I want to look at other people that are like big, meathead athletic dudes because I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna look like that. I'm not trying to look like that, but it's better than going to Planet Fitness and seeing a bunch of like middle-aged soccer mom schlubby people.
I go to fucking Planet Fitness.
I like going to a Globo gym when it's it's
I just
actually
like that you
fun.
call it Globo Gym.
It's like a Globo gym. It's a Globo gyms.
So
And,
what's the pet peeve?
Okay, so this is one thing also about training and fighting. You could play softball, a high level, whatever, men's league basketball. Once you start fighting, everybody fucking knows. It's crazy. The word spreads. Everyone knows that you train and right, whatever. The Globe gym, tough guy bullshit, whatever, right? So talking to a couple guys, big guys all tatted up and shit, and he's like, yeah, man, he's like, I can't do that shit, bro. I'm fucking crazy. I'll kill people. Oh yeah, you're crazy. You'll kill people. Really, dude? I don't even know how to react to that. What do you even say to that? I'm like, oh yeah, you are. Like, I'm like, did you really just fucking say that to me?
Like, you're so dangerous that
He's like, bro,
you can't train
I
because
remember
you make
he's
yourself
like,
more
he's like,
dangerous.
He's like, bro, I can't
Yo,
do it. I'm fucking out of my mind.
I immediately start wagering and bringing up sums of money. How much money are you willing to bet that would happen? Because I have $10,000 that says it will not. And I like say it like real calmly because I'm like waiting for somebody to try to like take me up on it. Or like you'll have like somebody that's like, oh my boy, he's got it, man. He's such a good fighter. And I'll be like, oh, who's your friend? I probably know him. No, he doesn't. He just fights in the street. But he's got it, bro. He's got it. He's got the eye of the
You don't know how to
tiger.
do that grappling stuff, but those hands.
Yeah. And all of us have the tough guy friend, the typical tough guy, pokai friend, or whatever it may be. But one thing I got to say about fighting is that you have to, when you start, you have to check your ego at the door and know you're going to get your ass handed to you by people that you would walk by on the street and be like, dude, I'll take this kid's fucking lunch money. It was I'm so grateful I learned that, like, it's such an enlightening thing that you never estimate or a book by its cover, ever. Like, you could look at people, bro, you never know. That's what the point is at the Globo Gym. Dude, it was funny. There's one story that distinctly sticks out in my mind. I'm not nearly as big as I was. I'm training with my boy Mark, who's kind of like just an average-looking guy. We're lifting. And there's a duffel bag next to a bench, right? So this guy, big guy, fucking bandana, Brooklyn, whatever he had on, fucking walks over, and the way it's the way he picked the bag up, and it was like he swooped it up and like gave me like the fucking like over his shoulder. I'm like,
Yo, he didn't want you stealing his pre-workout, bro.
I was like, all right, guy, take it easy. So I took it upon myself the next time I was there. They have a whole monkey bar area with heavy bags. And I just wanted to do bag work in front of him. Now I look at this guy, dude, he don't fucking look at me, that motherfucker. He would walk, dude, the way he grabbed the bag off that bench, like next to me, was like...
Super tough guy.
It was like
aggressive.
A fuck you.
Aggro, alpha male.
I'm like, all right.
So what, he saw you hitting the bag?
Dude, I think I wore like little ass shorts to the gym the next time and fucking was just kicking the bag and folding it. And I saw him now that fucking, and his chest just like goes down when he walks by me. He fucking looks at the floor.
Because he looked at you hitting the bag and was like, all right, this guy actually knows what he's doing.
Yeah, you fucking dick. I wouldn't even pick up the bit. Like, who walks around the earth like that?
Eric and I have seen
a lot of people, unfortunately,
some similar things. Like, we'll go to LA Fitness sometimes and run, and they have a bag room in there, but it's like open to everybody, and we'll go in there sometimes and hit the bag.
Yeah, we'll go do a bunch of rounds to like warm up before we run or something like that. It's a lot of fun.
It's awesome, but you'll be in there.
There's karate people too.
Right, you'll see the ninjas doing their thing, and it's just like, god damn, like you walk in there, they're doing their thing, and they see you, so they start hitting it harder to try and like, show off, and then me and Eric will get on the bag, next to them, and we'll start warming up, and you just see them like, they either stop or they start doing some real outlandish shit.
Yeah, they start turning it up. Turn that shit up.
Bro,
wheel kicking.
One other thing also I got to say is, listen, I am definitely far from the best kickboxer or boxer in the world. But with that being said, I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit. I see people hit the bag in public. I'm like,
yo, you shouldn't even do that.
No, there's got to be something wrong with them. Yep. There's got to be something wrong where, like, psychologically, like, off a little bit. I'm like, dude, that's embarrassing.
Do you remember the guy we watched when we were on the treadmill?
No. I was gonna ask, were you there the day that there was a couple of us in the room? There was at least 3. If you were there, it was 4. There was a tall black guy. I'm 6'3", and this black guy was probably like 6'4", 6'5", maybe 220, real athletic looking. and he definitely boxed. He was wearing boxing shoes. He had like not entry level gloves. He had his hands wrapped, and he's working the bag doing combos. Were you there this day?
No, I don't think so.
Must have just been he and I. So I come in there, and he's like, everyone, you know, we all eye each other because it's LA Fitness fucking tie bag room where there's like women. So everyone's like, we're all eyeing each other. Me and like this big black dude that looks like Patrick Ewing or like Hightower. He's like jacked. So I come in there.
Hightower.
Hightower.
Obscure reference.
He was legit. Legit. He was definitely like in his late 30s, early 40s. Like he probably boxed when he was young and he still does it for a workout. So he's like eyeing me down. I come out. I break out the hand wrap. So he gives me like the nod like, all right, this guy's good.
He's one of us.
He's one of us. Because I might have been wearing shoes, but usually I don't wear shoes when I'm in there. If I do, I wear wrestling shoes, not boxing shoes. So he didn't know what was up. I might have been a little like limp wrist in there. You don't know. So this other dude comes in, and he's definitely, well, I don't want to say he's on the autistic spectrum because I didn't think that until he started to hit the bag. And he comes in, no hand wraps, like the Everlasts, like right out of the package. And
in that mesh carrying case,
yep,
straight out of that one.
Mesh carrying case, like definitely not even real leather, like made out of plastic, these gloves. And there's like, how many bags would you say are along that wall? 8 or
7
6?
or 8,
Yeah, it's a good number along this one wall. And I'm working on like one end of the bags, like second one from the wall, just because you don't want to be on the one on the wall because there's not a lot of room next to it. And then the other black dude is on the other end of the spectrum. He's like 1 or 2 bags off the wall. So this kid comes in, and not even kid, he's definitely in his mid-20s. And he like literally like puts his gloves on. He's wearing like black sweatpants and like, I don't remember what kind of shirt, like a tank top or something like that. Wasn't in great shape. And he gets on the bag like right next to like Hightower, this like black dude. And there's like not even enough room for you to stand like in between the bags. You're basically boxing like inside. And this dude literally posts up like 3.5 feet away from this like NBA height player wise, like tall, like black dude that knows what the fuck he's doing on the bag. Like this guy was a better boxer than I am.
Yeah.
Just straight boxer. He's like cutting angles, throwing
Not
like
a box,
3-piece
the guy.
combos, like changing levels, cutting angles, faking, throwing like hooks and stuff. He was good. Like definitely knew what he was doing. And this kid just like comes up next to it. He starts like front kicking the bag. Like basically it was like the equivalent of like Napoleon Dynamite going like ape shit on this tie bag next to this black dude. And this dude's just like, we got the round timer going.
Was the guy like, dude?
Yo, we have like
all over the place.
we're listening to like 90s hip hop. We have our bag timers going, and this guy's just like, he's like looking at him, looks at me. He's like looking at him to see if I like see what's going on. I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck, bro. Like I don't know what's going on. And he's just like, at one point, like maybe like a minute into this kid doing like karate type movements to this bag, he's like ridge handing it. And like all types of like
bro.
chopping movements.
There's a company that hit the bag. Yo, it's a complete show.
They're democking.
He's like,
going. Yeah, they are. The
They're hitting it with the demock, the death touch.
Death touch.
in his absolute best laid back older black man voice, he's like, yo, my man, you need to calm down.
I'm just picturing Hightower. Hightower shorts on gloves saying,
Yo, my man, you need to calm down. He's like, you need to pick your shots a little bit, and maybe you move on to one of those other bags that's not right next to me. So the kid,
so the guy was probably like,
the guy's like, oh yeah, he's like nodding his head, like, you know, people like nervously nod their head when they're in like a confrontation that they don't know like how it's gonna end up. So the kid's like, sorry about that, and he like goes over and he moves. He's like, now he's like even closer to me. So he's like in between the bags. So he's only like 7 or 8 feet away from me. And he starts like getting himself set up. And this older black guy's like, man, you just got to pick your shots. Calm down. You got to stay loose. You got to take it easy a little bit.
and forget it, buddy.
He definitely did calm down a little bit, but it was definitely like threw the rest of my workout off. I was just done after that. Like I never recovered. I think I just went to ran on the treadmill or sit in the
One
sauna.
thing I gotta say about this crew, we tell very descriptive, put you there in the picture stories. Like I was smelling that black guy sweat. He was so descriptive.
He was Apollo Creed. I'll tell you exactly what he was. Apollo Creed with a tighter fro.
Taller.
Do you remember
Taller.
the gym that we go to when where that room is, you could see it from the upstairs treadmill, right? Treadmill areas upstairs. So you can look down into that room. Me and Eric one time were running to the very far side, closer to where that room is, but you can look down into it. We watched this kid shadowboxing. Do you remember we were watching the kid in the red shorts shadowbox? He was running around like a fucking lunatic, dude. This guy, he looked like a fucking ferret on crystal meth. Like, just running around. He was like trying to like bob and weave, but all he was doing was like moving his head
Now,
back
but
and forth.
let me
Do you
ask you
remember
this. Does
I don't remember.
Do ever like, okay, now going back to saying where we were educated on how to train and fight, are we the only ones that look at him like you're fucked up, you have no idea, or is everyone like,
We
wow,
had
that guy
this
knows how to
conversation.
move?
That's exactly what I was saying to Eric. I was
And
like, Eric,
we just know that he looks like he's fucked up.
that's what me and Eric were discussing as we were running. I was like, Eric, do you think this kid knows he looks ridiculous, or did he watch something, he's trying to emulate it, and he just doesn't know he's bad at it, or like, or is he crazy? I was like, I remember distinctly saying this to you. I'm like, I wish we could hear what the other people are thinking when they're watching.
Maybe they go, wow, that guy knows how to move, and
Well, that's
just
what I was wondering.
and just us three go, what the?
Well, because
fuck
then-
is
Watch,
I
he's
started
going to
to
be on
think-
like the undercard of the next UFC we're watching at our house. He's going to be doing these cat-like rabbit, these like all animal movements.
No, dude, this wasn't
Spinning
even
across
it
the
didn't-
floor
no,
and jump kicking.
He looked like he was having a fucking seizure, dude. But like, it made me wonder. I'm like, I wonder if people look at us who know what we're doing to a certain extent and are like, look at these fucking clowns. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't know, man.
I used to work out at World's Gym in Quorum, and before they renovated, in the middle of like the free weight like bench area, they had a heavy bag that hung. This heavy bag was like 40 years old. Like, there's no name brands on things when this thing was made. Like, that's how old it was. And there was a guy that used to come, and nobody would touch this heavy bag. Like, once in a while, like, my brother and I would walk by it, and you'd, like, give it a whack. Like, not even, like, a serious one, because it felt like it was made out of lead, like, halfway down, and you didn't want to get that by accident. And there was one guy that used to come, and he used to wear, like, those leather biker gloves, and he would just, like, stand in front of it and, like, throw wild hooks at it, like, oh! And he would, like, yell every time he hit it. I only saw him there a handful of times, but, like, other people that I'd mentioned him to, oh, yeah, I've seen that guy. Oh, yeah, I've seen that guy. He was, like, and he was a skinny white guy, probably looked like he was from Mastic, not trying to knock Mastic, but... And he was definitely in his, like, mid-30s, and this was, like, his workout. Like, he would come there. Like, I never saw him lift weights. He would just go, ah! And he'd, like, hit the bag and scream the whole time. And, like, definitely never boxed. Definitely, like, never even watched boxing. Like, but I don't know. Maybe that's just something that, like, people think they can do.
Let me
like,
ask you guys, though, so did you guys ever hit a bag not expecting it to feel like that? And, like, okay.
Yeah.
I was showing someone how to throw a kick because all my friends
oh,
said
that's
they had a
always the
bag.
kicks that get it.
Dude, and wasn't really as knowledgeable, and the lower half I was sitting was an older bag, and I blasted the lower half of the bag. I was in front of people. Bro, I'll always remember that. I thought I broke my fucking shin, but I couldn't show because I was in front of like 7 people. I wanted to fall to my knees and piss myself. I was like, oh. At first, when I stopped, I'm like, did I just break my fucking leg? Dude, I was like less than, that first just should touch the bag. A little. I was like fucking. I was like, I was like in the fucking kicking that post and like kickboxer. I was like,
he's kicking the fucking bamboo
I
down.
thought I
like
fucking grew a
kickboxer.
tail off the middle of my head, fucking bald head.
Tom Paul raped me.
Vinny Poe.
Yeah, dude, I kicked. I was like, holy shit, bro! Don't ever do that again.
We're about 2 hours in.
Holy cow! Time flies when you have fun.
Yeah.
Another good episode.
By the time you get home, your son's going to be 4.
Probably. Have to drive back to North Korea. Trimbo! Stop my nuclear weapons!
Get that passport stamped. All right, Vinny. Give your info out there. How can people get in touch if you want to come train at Dan Fitness, which we really didn't even get into.
Listen,
this time.
man. Yeah, we didn't really get into it. We'll get into it next time. Anybody who wants to get in touch with me, Instagram, Vinny Uzi. You can just personal message me. Or email me, BLTFRWAR, built for war 9 at Yahoo. Regardless, whatever. Pro training. Last post I put was that all my workouts for the most normal people are meant to shred and get you stronger. So anybody interested?
I mean, real quick, also give a rundown. You have just to show that you're not just some schmuck. I mean, your clientele that you have Gregor Gillespie.
Gregor Gillespie. I was trading him heavyweight boxer Adam Kalnacki. Just because of scheduling reasons, I'm not training him right now, but maybe we'll get back together. It was just timing.
He's in Russia anyway.
Right now.
For a while,
yeah. For a while?
I heard he's going there to spar with somebody.
I think a few months. For a few months he was, But, he came to me, which was actually a huge compliment. A pro boxer come to me to train him, I was like,
top 10 pro boxer,
top 10.
Too.
So, things are growing. I'm going to actually start working out a little bit with Ally Quinta. He asked me to do some upper body stuff from so, get my name out there a little bit. And also, for the future, you guys keep your eyes open. Would have a vision of what I'm building on my property. I'm very fortunate to have a big lot of home. I'm going to build a full-out training facility.
Yeah, you were telling me last time.
I'm actually started to give him a shout-out, Carlos Rosado, Gracie School, North Babylon. He's,
Gracie Baja, North Babylon, yeah. He's a high-level black belt.
He's a black belt. He came to me to get him ready for the game. So,
I competed against Carlos when we were both...
Strong, that kid, bro.
When we were both blue belts in the second Long Island Pride tournament. Actually, Yobber,
he knows you.
You were
knows
there.
You too.
Yeah.
He knows you. No.
I competed against him when we were both blue belts.
Yeah.
This goes way, way back. You were there. It was the one in Islip, I believe it was.
I remember that.
He beat me in the finals. He triangle choked me.
What's his name?
Carlos Rosado.
Okay.
He's good. He's very, very good. I haven't seen Carlos in a long time. I'm surprised he actually knows me. I haven't seen or spoken to him in a very long time.
But he's a good dude.
He's real cool. He's always been real cool. I trained with him a couple times afterwards. I'd gone down to Joe's school and trained a few times, and I got to train with him again. Awesome guy.
Yeah, man. So I got to, thankfully gives me a lot of shout outs, and Gregor too. A lot of shout outs on Instagram. The kid was made to be a professional speaker. It's unbelievable. But
fishing with the gift.
Yeah, he's good, man.